Well, welcome to the Saturday afternoon safari. Aren't we all excited to be out and about in the African bush? We are in Kenya with a herd of topi that we've been watching for about 5 hours. We're waiting for them to try across the river. Every time they get close to the river, they spot a crocodile and decide it's too dangerous to go. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have my good friend Manu on camera. And remember, if you want to send us any questions, get your parents to send them through to us. We would love to hear from you. Okay, I'm going to stick with this topi herd for the next while. We've been watching them, as I said, for about 5 hours, and they've been thinking and umming and ahhing about crossing the river constantly, but they haven't managed to build up enough courage to do it just yet. Big herd of topi. They sort of walk right to the water's edge, then turn around and come back and forwards and back and forwards. But it is very dangerous to cross. That's why they think long and hard before they do it, because of all the crocodiles in the river. Well, while the topi are still thinking about what they're going to do next, let's go show you what a big Nile crocodile looks like. Any crocodiles down here? No. But there should be some over here. There we go. Look at that. That is a monstrosity. There's a nice big crocodile. And of course, very dangerous if you are a topi. You might get snacked upon as you try to swim. Now, the animals cross the river quite regularly while they're looking for better grazing, and sometimes it is a bit confusing why they need to cross it so many times. You would think the grass is just as good on this side, but the grass always seems to be greener on the other side. So the crocodiles actually wait for this time of the year. Some of them won't eat at all till this time next year, when the migration and the animals crossing the river comes back. They might snack on the odd catfish in the river. Now, what are those topi doing? Well, I'm going to play the patience game here at the river with the topi and the crocodiles. Let's send you back across to South Africa to my good friend James, who wants to say howdy doody.
How do you do? Hello everybody and welcome to this drive. We are sitting with some impala here in the Western Kruger National Park. We're on a place called Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is James, and it would be lovely to hear from you, and you can tell your parents to send us emails on natgeokids@wildearth.tv. That's natgeokids@wildearth.tv. On camera today is Senzo Ngiza, who comes from KwaZulu-Natal, and I see that he's cut his nails, especially for this very special kid safari. So, that's what's happening today. We are going to be looking for leopards, but over there, we've got something that leopards might like to eat. Those are, of course, impala, and they're very thirsty. And the question is, why are they not going towards the water? What is making them nervous about going towards the water? And the answer is that there could be a predator around the water. Very often you will find that predators know that their prey will get thirsty eventually, and so they lurk around the water, they wait there, and if the impala go down, and if they're not careful and they put their heads down to drink, the predators could strike and grab one of them. So that's why we're sitting here patiently to see if maybe there's a predator waiting there. It's a hot day. It's probably around about 85 degrees Fahrenheit or so, 29 to 30 degrees Celsius. And we are in the dry season, which means that these animals have to come to the same water holes to drink. So let's see carefully if they go down and they have something to drink, or if they have a panic and move away because maybe there's a predator there. See how nervous they are to go and drink? Right, there's one brave chap going towards the water. Let's see what he does. While we wait and see what he does, Tristan, who's our other friend, Brent, Tristan and I are out today. He has got a very large, tall, huge, spectacular animal.
We do indeed. We have a very, very big giraffe bull, and he is standing ever so tall in the early African afternoon sun. It's a hot, hot day here in South Africa, and so much like those impalas going towards water, our giraffe is actually at water itself. It's coming for a little bit of a drink. Now, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera I've got David, and it is a very warm welcome to all of you this afternoon, and I hope that you are going to have the most fun as we explore all of the little wilderness out here in South Africa and Kenya. Now, this giraffe, I was saying, has come for water. So you see there's a little pan there. Actually, it's difficult to see the water, but you'll see that there's a little kind of reflection, and this water is very, very fresh water. It's actually pumped water that comes out of a borehole, which is basically something that is dug down into the ground, and there's seep from the ground, and then it's then put up on top of the water, or on top of the earth's surface, and it means that that water is very good to drink. And so the giraffe will come down and they will have a long drink around these areas. Now, the thing about a giraffe, though, is that when it drinks, it's very difficult to drink. It's not an easy way to get down there. It's very tall, it's very, very big, and so getting down to where the water is takes a lot of effort. And so what giraffe do often is that they'll stand like this, they'll look around first, make sure that there's no sign of any lions or leopards that could be around, and then they'll start to kind of think about how they're going to drink. And normally what will happen is that you'll find that they'll spread their front legs and they'll open them very, very wide, and then they'll start to bend their front legs and drop their head down towards the water itself, and then they'll take a nice drink. And their drinking is normally very, very quick, and the reason why they drink quickly is because that long neck takes a lot of energy to pull that neck down, unlike with us where we hold our head up and our neck stays straight, and when we fall asleep our neck goes down. I don't know if you've ever fallen asleep in the car or somewhere like that, where your whole neck just kind of flops downwards towards your chest. Well, with a giraffe that doesn't work like that. When a giraffe sleeps, in fact this one actually looks like he might be sleeping, its neck stays dead straight like it is now, and it actually has to push to get its neck down, and so when it drinks it can't hold it there for too long, and then has to kind of pop back up. Also, it knows when it's drinking that it's very unsafe, and because it can't see very nicely, and so just short little quick drink, and then pops its head up and then back down again until it's had enough water. Now, you may have also noticed that there was a bird that was flying about and landing on this giraffe. Now, that's called a red-billed oxpecker. And a red-billed oxpecker basically is there to kind of clean this giraffe. It's a personal cleaning service, and so it goes and gets off all the little ticks and various other things. Now, Crystal, how do we tell giraffes apart? Well, it depends. I mean, do you mean different species, or do you mean individual giraffes? If it's individual giraffes, every single giraffe has a different pattern. So if you look on the body of this animal, you'll see that it's got all these different kind of blotches, dark markings with little light patches in between, and so that will be different on every giraffe, like our fingerprints. So you can identify a different giraffe. In terms of the different species, well, they all look a little bit different. So hopefully Brent will find a Maasai giraffe for you up in Kenya, because they are different to the giraffe that we see here. This is the southern giraffe, and our giraffe here has very kind of mottled bodies. All those little blocks are irregular and different, whereas the Maasai has these ones that have almost little fingers that come off of their blocks, and a very, very beautiful giraffe in Kenya that they have. So, you know, that's how we tell the difference. And to tell the difference between male and female, well, we know this is a male. One, because if you look on top of his head there, you see he's got these little stumpy bones that are sticking out of his head. Now, those are there, and you'll find in a male, they'll be very thick and round, and they'll have a lot of kind of density to them, and the top will be almost bald. Whereas the females are very, very small on top there, very thin, and so that immediately tells you male and female. Also, in front of those two little horns, you'll find that there's a bump on the top of the head. Now that bump is basically a calcification of the skull. So what calcification means is where there's calcium deposits, and so the bone actually gets thicker on top of the head as the giraffe gets older. And it's interesting because at 7 years old, a giraffe is fully grown. It's as big as it's going to be. It's not going to grow any bigger. But by the time it reaches 14, even though the body has not changed at all, its skull and its head will weigh twice as much as it does at 7 years old because of that calcification or that bony deposit that is happening on top of the head. And the reason for that is because from 7 to 14 and then going forward until the giraffe gets to about 20, because that's about how long they live for out here, they will be fighting for mating rights. So they're fighting for girls, and they use that big head with these bumps on top to whack each other and hit each other in order to establish who is the most dominant of the giraffe. And so it's a very clever way to do it. You can see there's the oxpecker that's busy feeding, just trying to get rid of any little ticks maybe that's on there, mites, and they groom through that fur, and they'll try and grab them with these scissor-like little beaks. They're very, very cool. They keep the giraffe excessively clean. They'll find that they really grab everything that's on these giraffe, and the giraffe need it because they're so tall. It's very difficult for them to clean between their legs and around their tail. Viraz, how long can a giraffe get? Well, I mean, in terms of how tall they can get, a giraffe can stand at about about 6 meters as a male like this, which is very, very tall, and in feet I think it's about 27 feet if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there, which is massive. It's a huge animal, but you can see that its body is actually very small. The giraffe mostly is neck and legs, and so those legs and neck allow it to be able to not only see very far to spot predators, but it allows the giraffe to get to food that other animals can't get to. Now, to the back right of where that giraffe is, there's some trees, and you'll see them in the background there. They got a yellow flower on them at the moment. So just where the giraffe is kind of looking towards, behind it, there's those trees with those yellow flowers. There we go, those ones over there. Now those yellow flowers are growing on a tree called a knobthorn, and there's very few animals that can reach that. That tree is very tall, but a giraffe can, and that is one of the giraffe's favorite foods. And so that's why it's as tall as it is it means that it's got its own niche, and so it's not having too much competition in order to find food, because once they come down lower, and if they were the same size as many of the antelope out here, and much like some of the deer that maybe you guys see in the States, well, then you would find that the giraffe would have a lot of competition. So now it's able to kind of be up, and it's able to feed where there's no other animals, which is very, very, very cool for the giraffe, and means that they've generally got quite a lot of food in their favor. And the giraffe will be very happy now, because as these knobthorns start to flower, that flower is very tasty, full of nectar, smells very sweet. And we're in our winter months. As you can see, it looks very dry, doesn't it? A lot of the trees don't have leaves on them, and there's not much food around, and hasn't been for the last 4 months. And so these giraffe are going to be very happy, because that knobthorn is the sign of spring, and it's spring day, so happy spring day actually to everybody. And that means that these guys are slowly but surely going to get more and more food coming their way as the summer comes, because our rains will soon come, and when the rains come, then it's a time of plenty for the giraffe and various other animals that live out here. So I'm sure they're pretty excited that these things are going. Now, this particular giraffe, I think, is actually just having a little sleep. He's not going to drink just yet. He looks as though his eyes are actually closed, and it's quite interesting because giraffe don't sleep for very long periods of time at all. You'll find with giraffe that they only spend probably about 20 minutes in a 24-hour day sleeping. Now, I know you might think that's crazy, because for us as people, we require 6 to 8 hours of sleep a day in order for our brains to function effectively, whereas with a giraffe, they only do 20 minutes of deep sleep a day. And the reason why is because obviously a lot of predators out here makes it very difficult. So they will try and not spend too much time asleep, because otherwise they're very vulnerable, and they could then potentially be killed. So it's a very short period of time that they're actually sleeping for, which is quite amazing. But it does look like this giraffe is having a good nap, and you can see it's sleeping standing up, which is pretty cool. As a lot of the antelopes do this, and they have to, because otherwise if they lie down, then they are going to be exposed. So chatwa, they are an ungulate, which basically means a hoofed animal. And so you will see there that they have 2 hooves, basically. It's a cloven hoof that comes off of their foot. And so much like most of the antelope species, you'll have that split kind of foot that goes down. And so it's not a structure like our feet or something like an elephant or, you know, even rhinos, those kind of things that have a fleshy pad to the bottom. They have a capped hoof, and that just protects that foot from walking around all over the place. And you know, out here there's a lot of thorns, there's a lot of rocks and things, and so they've got to be able to protect their feet, and those hooves are basically like shoes for the giraffe, and they wear down as they go. It's because they walk around every single day, they don't lie up too much, those get worn, and they're able to then not worry about them growing too long. But essentially they have a hoof, not a foot structure like you would typically see on the rest of us. What's quite interesting actually, David, if can I ask you to go back onto his front knees for me, please, because I want to just have a little look at something. Now you see there on his front knees, he's got a bit of damage to them. It looks like he's got a bit of skin missing there. I wonder if he hasn't either been attacked by something like lions or hyenas, or maybe, just maybe, he fell somewhere. Now it does happen sometimes that giraffe do fall. It's not often, but he maybe had slipped somewhere and just taken a bit of skin off his front leg, but it looks like quite a big damage. You can see there's another cut a little bit above the knee as well, so maybe lions tried to hunt them. The lions in this area don't often go after giraffes, so it would be very interesting if that was the case. Anyway, very, very cool to see. I don't know what's caused that, but he definitely has a little injury in that area. It's healing though, so he'll be just fine. Right, now we're saying that the giraffe faces lots and lots of threats, and most of the threats that come from these kind of areas is the biggest of the big cats, and that is the form of the lions. And it sounds like Brent up in Kenya's Masai Mara has found some of those toothy critters to show all of you.
Well, here we have two very lazy lions lying in a little bit of shade from the grass there. Now that big male lion on the right, you can see his big mane. He is one of the most famous lions in the world. His name is Scarface, and he's got a very distinct scar, and he's got a girlfriend with him today. So we're not going to stay with them too long, in case they do something naughty. And we don't want to look at sleeping lions. We want to look at awake lions. So I heard there were some more lions just down the road. So I'm going to go see if we can find them. Well, another male lion. And it sounds like he might have caught himself some dinner. But we will stop and have a look at whatever wonderful thing we might find on the way as you go. Remember, this is 100% live. And remember, kids, ask your mom and dad to send your questions through. I would love to hear from you. Okay. What are we going to see next? I think we're going to see a Thompson's gazelle next. Another one of the antelope species. Kaj wants to know, could we build safe bridges for the animals to cross the river? But then, Kaj, what would the crocodiles eat? The crocodiles need to eat too. And if we put bridges that the animals could walk over, the crocodiles wouldn't get their food. So I'm sure it's possible, but we wouldn't, because we don't want to interfere with nature. Okay, where are the Thompson's gazelles hiding? I think just up ahead on the next open plain. Okay, well, I'm going to keep checking if we can find you some more animals. In the meantime, let's send you back to South Africa with my friend James.
Hello, we are still trying to find some leopards and things out here, Thought, well, let's just have a quick look at something rather interesting. Just listening quickly to the radio. Okay, he's talking too much. Now, what do you suppose this is? Interestingly, it's an animal that we don't see very much. It's an animal that is in great trouble in the world today. And this animal is, of course, the white rhinoceros. How do I know this? Well, I know this because it's black. You can see it's got a blackish colour to it. And unlike elephant dung, which looks very similar, it's only got pieces of grass in it. It has no sticks and no leaves from the trees in it, because the white rhinoceros only eats grass. Now we're going to have a smell. It also smells very different from elephant dung. Elephant dung smells quite sweet. It smells like you've gone to your mother's spice rack, taken off the bottle of mixed spices, tipped it onto your hand, and that's what it smells like. This smells like mushrooms. It smells like rotting vegetation. It smells very nutritious, but doesn't smell quite as good as elephant dung. And this rhino, of course, is hiding somewhere around here, probably not too close by, because this dung is quite old. Alrighty, let's keep looking around. Now, it was around here that we thought maybe the leopards were. So we're going to look very carefully, and when it's hot like this, leopards, of course, are going to be lying under the bushes, trying to stay cool. They might also be lying in the dry riverbeds, so we'll drive very slowly around here and see if we don't get quite lucky. Yes, indeed, Wello Wanderer, you are absolutely correct. You say I have my Saturday shorts on. I most certainly do, in celebration of Nat Geo Kids. I have my Saturday shorts on. I wore them for the television shows we've just done as well. And, well, on the very last show, the executive producer saw them, and I think he had a small heart attack. Anyway, I think he's recovered from that. I hope he has anyway. Let's hope he doesn't have a freak out next time he sees them. I think they're really wonderful. They've got all sorts of South African sayings on them, and pictures of scenes from South Africa. Thank you. Emma says they are very jazzy. I think they are very jazzy. Right, Tristan very cleverly has remained with his giraffe. Let's go and find out if it's going to go and have a drink.
I'm afraid not. I don't think so, because it's first time for lunch. So our giraffe, as you can see, is starting to have a little bit of a feed. It's starting to eat the new flowers that are coming out onto that tree. Those flowers haven't blossomed just yet, but little buds are there, and so that is food for this giraffe. And you'll see a giraffe feeds in a very cool way. I always love watching them. So they have this very long face that they stick into a tree, and the advantage of a long face like that is that most of the trees that they feed off, like that knobthorn that we were talking about earlier, that knobthorn has very sharp thorns on it, and so the long face just helps to keep the eyes away from those thorns. And they have long eyelashes that also protect the eyes. It's a very clever system, and what they're able to do is then reach up, and they have a very long tongue. Now I'm hoping that this giraffe is going to stick its tongue out for us to be able to see, because their tongue is about 30 centimeters long, which is very, very long. It's almost the length of my forearm, so between my elbow and my hand. And what they do is they then stick it up if they can't reach something, and they wrap their tongue around, and then they pull. Now I was saying that there's thorns, and so that means their tongue has to be a little bit different and fleshy, and if you bite your tongue it's very, very sore, and let alone if you try and eat thorns. And so with these guys, what they've got is they've got lots of little growths on their tongue, basically, so little dimples that are all over it, and those are areas of thickened skin that lack nerve endings and blood vessels, and it allows the giraffe to basically wrap its tongue around without really getting any damage, so their mouth doesn't bleed, and they can eat the most thorniest of thorn trees and get to the really good flowers. And the reason why they want to do that is because any tree that's got thorns is basically a tree that has sought to protect itself. So because its flowers are so tasty, everything wants to eat it. It has to grow thorns in order for the other animals to stop being able to come and feed off it, and that's why it has them. And so the giraffe has now bypassed that system. But there we go. Look at that. Isn't it a beautiful animal to watch walking around? They're so graceful. Now what I want you to look at is when it's walking, look at its legs. Now you see how its legs are moving? Both left legs, then both right legs. Both left legs, then both right legs. Now that's very different to all of the other animals that walk out here. The other animals have a slightly different gait. They will move their front left and then their front right, and the back feet then follow those actions, but they don't go at the same time, because I don't know if you've ever tried it. I want you to try it maybe after you finished here, is to go outside and try and swing your left arm with your left leg and then walk with your right arm and your right leg and feel how uncomfortable it feels. And that's because you're going to be completely unbalanced. The difference with the giraffe is that because it walks like that, it has to walk like that because otherwise it kicks itself, and so it has a long neck that helps with it being able to actually stop the giraffe from falling over. So as the left legs, let's say, move, so we'll have the left side of the body will move and the right, or the neck will shift to the right, and so then the body is quite centered and it balances quite well. So basically the neck goes that way, the legs on this side move, these legs start moving on the right, and the neck then starts to shift to the left a little bit, and so it all is nice and balanced. It really is quite amazing to watch giraffe. They are one of the animals that probably have the most unique things about them out here because of their size and their shape. They have to have a lot of different things in order to be able to survive. Now, I doubt that this giraffe will drink. I think it's going to, unfortunately, head off into the thickets and probably disappear inside here. They have really kind of good camouflage, so once they get inside there, they actually can blend in quite well. You can see there that broken pattern, even it's so tall, is quite difficult to see. Now, Emma, sorry, I missed the name. If you can just give me the name, I got the question. Gizmo, I think it is. Gizmo, if a giraffe falls, does it have difficulty to get Gizmo. If a giraffe falls, does it have difficulty to get up? Yes, a lot of difficulty. And it's one of the ways that lions will actually hunt giraffe, is that instead of jumping on the giraffe, they sometimes try to chase them down steep banks or areas that are very uneven ground, so lots of rocks and those kind of things, and the giraffe then trips and falls. And once it falls, it takes a lot of effort to swing its neck back up, and it also means that the lions take away the giraffe's biggest defense, or two biggest defenses. One is that when it's not upright, it can't see as much, and two, it can't kick. Those big long legs can really kick and can actually kill a lion if it kicks it in the face. And so once it's down, the giraffe's legs are out of the equation and they can run up and grab it by the neck. It's much easier. So lions will do that to giraffe. They'll try to chase them. Also, you'll find with giraffe, when they cross rivers, they do it very slowly because of their top heaviness. Sometimes they'll actually slip on slippery rocks and fall over, and they'll drown in water that's this deep, which is pretty insane, because most animals in water this deep would just get up and walk away, but a giraffe struggles to get its stance, and because of its heavy weight, it slips and slides, and they can drown in very, very shallow water. So they have to be really careful when they are crossing any watery places and in walking anywhere near rivers, because otherwise they can get themselves in a lot of trouble. Right, our giraffe is disappearing, but I want to just have a little look around here, because this morning we had a leopard in this area that was walking around in this thicket, and so I want to try and see if I can find the leopard that is somewhere inside here. It's going to take maybe me walking around a little bit, and so what I'm going to do in the meantime while I look around here is that I'm going to send you across back to Brent, who I think is still with his lions, and I'm sure he's going to be sitting patiently with them, because as the afternoon comes in, so we're going to see a number of the animals probably moving around to go towards water and to feed, and those lions will then use the cover of darkness and the late afternoon sun in order to be able to hunt.
Well, we've got some zebra. Aren't they beautiful animals? And there's always the old joke that it's a horse that forgot to take its pajamas off. Of course, they are part of the horse family, but they're much more closely related to donkeys than horses. And each zebra has a unique set of stripes. So there's not one zebra that is the same as another. And they are enjoying the lovely lush grass of the Masai Mara. And way in the distance, I think I can see some wildebeest as well. See them there, man, on the ridge. Looks like wildebeest from here. Maybe those wildebeest will go towards the lions a little bit later, but for now they're nice and safe where they are. Now, zebras are what we call bulk grazers, so they are not fussy eaters, and they will munch on all sorts of grass. So, unlike other species like wildebeest and topi that we were looking at earlier, they are far more selective grazers. They're a bit fussier eaters. Now, it's very difficult to tell if zebra are sick because of their stomach system. They are hind gut fermenters, so they always look fat. But the one way to tell if a zebra is sick, if you look at its mane falls down. Oh, cheeky little one, little kick there. They are very, very beautiful. And you can see their tails swishing away. That's to keep the flies away. And you'll also notice that they shake their head quite a bit sometimes, and that's, or their ears, and that's also to get the flies away. There's some nasty biting fly species that tend to focus on their ears and their bottoms. Well, let's leave our lovely zebras and go see what other wonderful creatures we can find. Hello, Andrea. An excellent question. Can you use zebras like you do horses? No, you can't. It has been done in the past before. But zebras do not have very strong backs, so they can't be loaded to for people to sit on. And the other thing is, they do not have great stamina. So horses have been bred to be able to take heavy loads. Donkeys have been bred to have great stamina while carrying heavy loads. So what happens is the zebras normally die. They're also very, very temperamental. They can be very angry. They bite and kick a lot. So they do not make good domestic animals. People have tried in the past, and it was found that it didn't work. They would often die before you'd even had a chance to try train them to carry anything. Okay, I think I'm going to head back towards the river to go check on what my topi friends are getting up to, and maybe see if those lions have woken up a little bit. Now, can you believe that we are over 2,000 kilometers away from where James and Tristan are in South Africa? So we're going to keep checking around here, see what we can find. I thought there'd be some Thompson's gazelles, unfortunately not. There are some big storms brewing around, so we might even get a little bit wet later. Maybe let's go look at some hippos down near the river while we go check on the topis. Ah, hello Gizmo. Gizmo's got an excellent question about the crocodiles we saw a bit earlier. What is the lifespan of a crocodile? In captivity, the Nile crocodile has been recorded to be living up to about 120 years. So they are very, very long-lived, the Nile crocodiles. Most of the very big ones you'll be looking at here in the river are probably around 80 or 90 years old already. They grow very fast in their first 2 years, and then after about 10 years, their growth rate slows down quite a lot. Now, it also depends on where the crocs are. So crocodiles like here in Kenya along the Mara River, where they have a massive amount of food during the migration season, tend to grow bigger and fatter and faster than, say, a crocodile living in an area that doesn't have a lot of large mammal food. and they have to rely mostly on fish. Okay. What is going on here? Okay. Let's try see what other animals we can find down by the river. Okay, while I keep searching, let's send you back to my friend James.
Well, yes, we are still searching. I've just been off the car searching on my feet, and my feet tell me that there is a leopard that has walked down through this riverbed up into a rather nasty thicket over here. And so we'll see if we can't just poke our heads over the top and get very lucky and have a look-see. There's some very thick bush here. And that makes it quite difficult to see them. But let's see what else we can find as we go. Hello, Alan. You're interested in road maintenance, which is quite interesting. Yes, the roads are maintained. They're maintained by a fellow called Rexon, who does a very good job of maintaining the roads here. He builds berms to ward off the water when the rains come. He grades them. And, well, it takes quite a lot of work, really, to make them work properly. Anyway, now the last tracks that I had headed up into this little area over here. So we'll just stick our noses in there, because that's what we saw. And we might be very lucky. So the tracks do not cross over this road. In other words, I can't see any footprints to show that the leopard may have crossed over that road, but I can see some footprints coming into this area here. Now, it's quite possible that I've missed some footprints, of course, and that is because leopards' footprints are very difficult to see. They're not easy to see at all. Let's hope we don't come a cropper here, as they say. Whoops, the daisies. No, we're fine. Now, we need to be very careful and look out for some spots. Yellow, black, and white in this thickety area here. Could there be a little leopard or two? We'd also be listening out for birds that might be alarm calling, so they may have seen the leopard and they'd be going zip, 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 zip. They don't like to see leopards like we do. So let's stop and listen and see if we can hear any birds. There is a bird calling. It's called a white-browed scrub robin. It's going... But that's not an alarm call. Oh, there's a nice bird. Very nice. But it is very quiet now. All right, gone away now. We'll just try a little bit further on and down here. Let's see, we'll just have one last look down here, and then I think we'll probably try and go somewhere else and see. In the meantime, let's go across to Tristan. He's also looking.
Well, good luck, James, and I hope that you find what you're looking for. So, looking around in the thickets for, well, the son of the leopard that James is trying to find. So we're looking for little Hosanna, who is about a 2.5-year-old male leopard that is, like I say, the son of Tingana, and he was seen this morning in this area, and so we're just having a look around. He likes to hide out in the shade during the hot part of the afternoon, and then from there he starts to walk around. And I'm guessing that if we don't find him now, as the sun starts to get a little bit lower just before sunset and it gets a little cooler, that's when we're going to start to see him potentially moving about and hopefully finding himself a nice place to come out onto the road that I can then actually find his tracks and then find him. Last time I heard bushbuck alarm calling from him was quite early this morning. It was about 8 o'clock was the last time I heard any alarm calls from our camp, because we're right next to our camp and it makes it very easy for him to kind of find nice places to hide. But before we carry on, there's a beautiful bird in front of us. So there's what looks like a greater blue-eared starling, and look at those colors. Isn't that magnificent? It's beautiful when the sun is shining. These birds really kind of iridesce. There's beautiful blues and greens, and we know it's a greater blue-eared starling because if you have a look at this bird's head, hopefully it's going to turn its head towards us. You see it's got a bright orange eye. So that means that it already takes away one of the starlings that we see here, called a Birchall starling. Now, I'm actually just trying to see if it does have the blue ear. It actually doesn't. So or does it there? Now it's turning. Difficult to see the way that it keeps turning. I just want it to turn once more. And I'll show you why it's difficult to tell the difference between two different birds here. One is called a glossy starling. No, it is a greater blue-eared. It's got that little blue section behind the eye that makes it a greater blue-eared. The Cape glossy starling doesn't have that, and it also tends to be a little more on the greener side than these guys. Now, they're quite common out here, and they are a beautiful bird, but they're actually not that color. Now, you might say that's shocking. Why is this bird not actually blue? It looks blue. Well, that's because it is reflecting light. So the way that the feathers are designed, they basically reflect light in a very odd way, and so these birds are actually black. If it's very overcast and cloudy, you won't see too much of those blues. In fact, the bird will be much darker, but as you start to see a bit of light coming onto them, so we start to see these kind of beautiful colors come out. So basically this is what we're looking at. This is what's called the Cape glossy starling. So this is the one that looks very similar, but you notice here it's got this yellow eye, and then there's no blue around the ear at all. So it's got a kind of clean head. Now if I go to the next one, which is the greater blue-eared, you see what I'm talking about? It's got this little mask that comes down and goes there. So that little section is what we look for when we're trying to identify the two of them. It looks a lot more pronounced in these drawings of this bird or paintings. It's not quite the same in real life. It can be quite tricky to identify the two of them, but really, really pretty bird that we get out here. They're very common, so sometimes people don't really pay much attention to them, but I think they're actually quite wonderful and thoroughly enjoy spending some time looking at them. Right, now they are going to be all over the place this afternoon. I'm sure we'll see some more of them as we go. It's also just flown off. And so we're going to keep looking around. I'm actually going to head to one of our big dams that is in the northwest corner for a bit, because I think our leopard will come out a little later. And in the meantime, I'm pretty sure that maybe we'll get lucky with some ellies that might be going for some water. So I'm going to go and try and check if I can find some elephants at that big dam. Hopefully it will work, and we'll get to show you guys ellies, because they're some of my favorite animals. I love spending time with elephants, and that's kind of where we're going to be heading, and hopefully going to be successful in finding what we're looking for. But it is a most beautiful day. Sweet history, unfortunately, which we'll never hear the end of, was Brent Leo Smith that won the birding challenge. But I will contest that, given the fact that we are in winter, given the fact that we are in thicker, denser areas, and that we did not go to the river or any water like Brent did, because he did go to water, and given that we spent our afternoon, Sydney and I, following two leopards around for the most part, the fact that we lost by only 3 birds, I think, was pretty sharp. So we got 14 and Mara got 17. So I feel like it was a close call, and had we just, not been with the leopards, I think we could have won that one quite easily. What do you think, David? Yeah. I think so too. So Brent, while he has a victory, it is a very shallow victory, I'm afraid. And so for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, yesterday was Brent's birthday. And so for Brent's birthday, he said he wanted to have a birding challenge. And so we had to get birds on camera, and try and see if we could show as many birds as possible. And we didn't actually get that many. Normally, if we do a birding challenge for 3 hours and we focus on birds, then we should get close to 40 bird species in the summer months, at least on camera, which is pretty good. So, you know, we I suppose need to work on that. Also, the fact that we didn't go to water points doesn't help, because water is going to have a lot more birds at this time of the year than, you know, just the bushy areas. But anyway, it's Brenty won, so we'll give him his birthday win for now. We will have a repeat of our bird challenge at some point soon, and then it's going to be quite interesting. Now, the thing is that Brent also saw a bird yesterday, which I am waiting for him to confirm an ID on. He says imperial eagle. I looked at the photos, and I don't think he's far wrong. It looked very imperial eagle-ish, but I wonder if he's had any confirmation. I think he was going to send it to some other people just to see what they thought and what they said, but I'm quite keen to kind of know whether or not it was confirmed as an imperial eagle, because that's a very, very, very rare bird for out this way, and we've been very lucky to have been able to get it. Right, now no tracks for our left coming up here anyway, so we'll keep going towards the dam like I was saying. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent to let us know whether or not it was indeed an imperial eagle, or if maybe we just misidentified it and gave it the wrong name.
Well, we haven't had a response on the eagle yet, so I've sent it through to some experts and I'm waiting to hear their feedback. But there we go, we finally found the Thompson's gazelle, another lovely little antelope species that lives here in Kenya. This is a male, and he's by himself at the moment, so he's not a dominant male, and he doesn't have any girlfriends. Shame, poor guy. I think they're incredibly cute. Now, we're talking about the zebras and their tail. You can see the Thompson's gazelle has quite a long tail compared to its body size, and that is again for the flies. Oh, I've spotted something very cool. One of my favorite little critters, and they're always fun to watch. There's a nice big group of banded mongoose foraging around here. Now, the banded mongoose are incredible little hunters. They'll dig up all sorts of little insects, sometimes even small mice or rodents. There they are. You can see that one digging. And they will use their nose to find food. They'll also use their ears if they hear insects moving under the ground. How cool is that? Dig. Now you'll notice there's some smaller ones there. Those are actually youngsters, and sometimes their adults will actually dig out some food for the little ones. Now, they've got to be very careful, and you'll notice some of the adults jump up and look to the sky every now and then, because the biggest threat to these little guys is birds of prey, martial eagles and other big eagles. That is their biggest threat. So every now and then you'll notice one of them will jump up on its back legs, have a quick scan around, make sure that there's no big predators close by or predators in the air. They live in very tight-knit little family groups, and they'll sleep in burrows during the night. They'll have multiple burrows throughout their territory that they will also use to hide in if there is a predator around. So they'll scurry off and disappear underground to protect themselves. Now, believe it or not, while I was growing up, I've had banded mongoose as pets. And you would think they are quite nice pets. They are not. They can be quite angry, make lots of funny noises. And as I said, they live in very, very tight-knit little family groups. So if you do ever have one as a pet, it immediately assumes you are part of its family group. So it will mark its territory on you. Our first one's name was Monty, and then the second one we had, its name was Lord Montague. Okay, well, let's leave the little mongooses to carry on their foraging and go see if we can find some hippos next to the river. While we do that, let's send you across to James.
Right, we have got here our first proper animal of the day. Well, we had some impala earlier. This is a bigger version, I suppose you might say. It is called a kudu. And that's a female kudu. She's standing in the shade, and she's standing in the shade because really it is very hot today. Very hot indeed. We're trying to stay cool, and we're also sitting in the shade. I'm afraid I didn't find any further tracks of that leopard, and I thought to myself, you know what, let's go off and see what else we can find. Because watching us drive around looking for footprints is not great entertainment. So now we have some kudus. And there's another one coming, which is very nice. They live in these little groups, and those little groups help them to stay away from predators, and although they're almost a perfect sort of size for a lion to eat, we very seldom see them being eaten by lions here, and I'm not really sure why. They seem to be very good at avoiding the lions that come around here. Here comes the third one in the group. They don't need quite as much water as the impala do. Remember, we saw the impala to start with sitting by the waterhole. And that's because they are much better adapted to living in drier conditions. And they'll go sometimes a day or two without water. They get a lot more water from their food than the impalas manage to. You can see that one there is eating leaves. And those green leaves have quite a lot of water in them. And then, I don't know if you know what kidneys are, but kidneys are the things basically that filter your blood. And in us, in human beings, we are not very good at stopping water from going out of our kidneys. And that's because we drink a lot, and so we don't really have to be able to filter a lot of water out. But in something like a kudu, they are really good at making sure that they don't waste any water in the body. And so their kidneys are designed slightly differently from ours. And that means that they don't need to drink as much as we do. That one is also eating leaves, not from grass. It's just found some green leaves on the ground. And interestingly, kudus really struggle to eat grass. They have a special kind of digestion that is designed for eating leaves from trees. Oh, I didn't mention this, Catherine. It's a very good question. You say, why are there birds all over the kudus? Those special birds are known as oxpeckers. Now, an oxpecker is a very special bird, a little bit like a starling, that sits on animals and it takes off the ticks and other parasites that might be on the skin. And so what that oxpecker is doing is trying to get hold of ticks, because the ticks suck blood out of the kudu. And there's nothing an oxpecker likes more than a bit of blood for breakfast. But they're very helpful to the kudus, we think, because they take all the ticks off. So even though they take the ticks because they like blood, that's not a bad thing for the kudu. And you'll find those special birds on just about all of the herbivores out here, with the notable exception of the elephants. Elephants don't like oxpeckers, and they won't tolerate them. I'd quite like to have an oxpecker, because I think it would be quite nice and ticklish to have it crawling around on my body and taking off any ectoparasites I might have. I hope I don't have too many ectoparasites. There's also a very special bird. Senzo, I'm not sure if you can see it just over the top of my head. There's a blue-black bird. Can you see it there? There we are. Beautiful. And that's called a green woodhoopoe. It's not green at all, so I don't know why it's called a green woodhoopoe, but a lot of the people who name birds aren't very clever. and so unfortunately they have silly names. It used to be called the red-billed woodhoopoe, which makes a lot of sense because it's got a red bill. And that bill is very clever. It's long and it allows the bird to probe, that means sort of dig, I suppose, underneath the bark of the trees that it's sitting on, and there it will find termites or beetle grubs or caterpillars maybe, or spiders or very small scorpions. Very nice. We're going to carry on our search, maybe sit here a little bit longer while we do that. Brent Leo Smith, all the way up in the Masai Mara, has managed to find himself an animal that is doing what I would very much like to be doing, and that's lying in the water.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about the river. You can always find some hippopotamus lounging about in the water. They spend most of their day in the water. And they'll come out at night to feed, and they feed on grass. And look at that, he's got a little hitchhiker, common sandpiper. Oh, he's gone. No, he's moved to another hippo. It looks like, yes, a common sandpiper. Might be feeding off little insects and stuff that are on the hippo. It's also a very safe place to have a drink from, because nothing's going to mess with the big bad hippos. Catherine is wondering what crocodiles like to eat the most. I can't see any crocodiles here. But most crocodiles, if they are small, they eat fish. And the bigger ones will eat fish as well. But also wildebeest and zebra and gazelles and topies and even a lion if they catch one. Oof. The hippos are enjoying the fact that it's cooling down. And have them talking to each other. And they'll be getting ready to go out and feed. Now, let's go down next to the river a little bit more. There were some more lions around here on the other side of the river a little bit earlier today. We can't see them now. We'll see if we can spot them again. Okay, dokie. Probably hiding in these thickets here somewhere, waiting for some poor animal to come past. Maybe they've walked down this way, so we're going to do the same, see if we can see them from this side of the river. Whoopsie. Okay, well, I concentrate on not getting stuck here. Let's send you back to South Africa and James.
Now we are back on the trail of our leopards. We've got a bit of help from somebody in front of us here. He looks like he spotted something. I wonder if it's the leopard. It would be very exciting if in our last few minutes we managed to show you the leopard. I'm not sure that it is the leopard though. You got her? Oh, an owl. Okay, there's an owl in there, which we'll try and see a bit later. Thanks, guys. Apparently this is where the leopard went into the drainage line. And the drainage line is another way of saying a river. Anyway, let's carry on along here. Ooh, there's some tracks, but those are old tracks. What else can we spot here before the end of our kids' drive? We did have a warthog around here as well, which would be very nice. But I don't see any warthogs now. And also we might find something underneath these bushes over here. Alright everybody, thank you for joining us. At least we got some good stuff up in East Africa. Nice giraffe here, couple of kudu, some impala. No leopard this week, but you must join us next week and you might be very lucky. Oh, another 30 seconds, how fantastic. It's always nice to have two 30 seconds. Alright, we'll see you next week. So join us again for this lovely kids show on Saturday next week. Until then, well, have a good week. Bye-bye. Welcome back to the normal end of the Saturday Sunset Safari. My name is James Henry, as you know. Senzo is on camera, as you probably know. And we are still on the set for Tandi and Talamba and anything else with a heartbeat. Heartbeats have been in short supply this afternoon. Please talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube. There is our first heartbeat, Senzo. It is a Franklin. Oh. Don't run, little Franklin. We're not looking at you, I promise. Do you see it there, Senzo? It's that bird there. There we are. Very good. That one, yes. A little spurfowl, not a Franklin anymore, now called a spurfowl. The Natal spurfowl. You know that from the orange leggies and the orange beak. It's looking for little insects, it's looking for little bits of seed. I always think it must be extremely difficult for them to survive here. I'm not sure what it is that they eat if they can't. I mean, this time of the year, I walk through the stuff and I can't find any sign of insect or seed. I suppose there could easily be seeds around. There must be seeds around. Because if you were to take out every piece of grass that you can see there and then cover this place in water, you'd find it green within 2 weeks. Very nice. Kathy, a few migrating birds have actually shown up. I don't know if you were watching this morning. If you weren't, well, shame upon you. But never mind. We had my sort of first favourite migrating bird back, and that, of course, was the Wahlberg's eagle. We had one a few days ago, and then we had another one this morning. So both members of the pair that live down near Twin Dams, the chocolate brown one with the pale form partner, they are back. The two pale forms that live quite close to where we do, near our camp, they are not back just yet. But the Wahlbergs, I think, is the first one I've seen back here. Often it would be a yellow-billed kite, but the yellow-billed kite is really not very common in this area, and I've very seldom seen one. Well, that was very nice. Senzo, I think that's probably the longest Natal spurfowl sighting we've ever done, isn't it? Yes, well done. He's giving me a thumbs up. That's very nice. Oh, and a bit of a large snake track going across the road. A couple more leopard tracks all over the place here. I don't know what's going on with them. I think let's go down towards Treehouse Dam. James Richard, your wish be my command. My incompetence at finding leopards means that I will most happily go down towards the vulture's nest. We are not far from there, so let's do precisely that. If some of you are wondering what James Richard is talking about, there is a white-backed vulture's nest on this road. We know that the chick hatched probably, I think, about a week ago, because we found one of the parents, I'm assuming the female, but I might be wrong, standing in the nest with her arms out like this. Arms, she doesn't have arms, she has wings, and definitely shielding the chick, and then the chick popped its head out a few days later out of the nest. So yes, James Richard, good idea. I'd forgotten about that. Let's go down and see what we can find there. Apparently it's International Vulture Day today. That's interesting. I believe it's also International Primate Day, and it seems to be very difficult to keep up with all of the international days devoted to various animals, all of them very important. Vultures, of course, are massively important creatures. And apparently Brent Leo Smith has got a bird on the floor, which means it must be in his tent or in the final control. It sounds very intriguing. Let's go and find out what it is.
Well, we did. We're actually trying to find, there we go, it's a little bird party. There's a female purple grenadier. Now she's dehusking the grass. But, so, Manu, you see where this, to the left here, there's a yellow-throated longclaw behind it. So a little bit more to the left. Keep coming. No, so in between the two longclaws. So a little bit out. There we go, there's another one. Now what do we got there? Oh, that's a female red-cheeked cordon bleu. We'll see if we can find you the male. It's got a very, very distinct, pretty red cheek. Now, where I can see another female. Now, where are the males hiding? So we've got female grenadiers and female cordon bleus, but no male so far. I'm sure he's around here somewhere. Oh, there we go. I think right in front of us, Manu. There's two there. I think the one on the right, that one there, is the male. There we go. Look at that. You can see that wonderful red cheek. A red-cheeked cordon bleu. I love the little waxbills and cordon bleus and firefinches and grenadiers. They are just so beautiful. Little seed eaters. Very cool. So the Southern African equivalent to this is obviously the blue waxbill, minus the red cheeks. So they don't occur this far north. There is one you can get confused with, and sometimes it's in the same groups as the red-cheeked cordon bleu, and that is the blue-capped cordon bleu. But they've got a very red bill, and the males have a completely blue head. And you can see that female doesn't have a very red bill at all. It's sort of a dirty browny bill. I love the little noises they make as well. So beautiful. See what other birds we've got down here by the river. Kathy is asking, are there buntings? Yes, there are, but we don't see them too often. Oh, dik-dik on the other side of the river, Manu. It's another animal we don't see too frequently, one of the smaller inhabitants of the Mara. Here we go, a pair of dik-dik. Dik-dik. Beautiful. I love dik-diks. We've got some that live in and around our camp. We see them at night from time to time. They are very nocturnal, so they're only sort of coming out now as it's getting cooler and darker, but they can be very sprightly, and it's quite fun when they decide to chase each other around. And it's really nice to see one right out in the open like this at this time of the day. Not too common to see in the Mara. Other places they are more out in the open at different times of the day. There we go. The next one's running in, Manu. There we go. That's the little male. No. Which one's the male? Male's in the front, sorry. There's a female at the back. See the female slightly bigger? Got a very... there we go. That's what I was just talking about. When they start playing, they are wonderful to watch. Let's just have a look a little bit longer. Oh, into the thickets. Are you going to come charging out? Are you going to come charging out? Oh, bird of prey flying. Was it great kestrel? It was chasing something. Oh, there we go. Well done, Manu. The great kestrel. It was chasing after, it looked like a dove for a second there. And it looks like it's just flying now. Lovely camera work, Manu. Okay, well, it looks like our dicks are going to go back into the thicket. There's still one there. Having a little snack. It's the little male. Okay, well, what a lovely little interlude with some of the smaller creatures, some of the smallest birds and the smallest antelope we get in the Mara. And let's send you back to James and to see what he's up to now.
I've got the vulture, James Richard. That is the mama vulture. The baby vulture just stuck its head out in greeting, but alas, it seems to have put its head back down, James. So maybe if you sing a little song all the way from New York, I think that's where you are, if you start singing, perhaps it will stick its head out. What are you clicking at, Senzo? You're listening to James Richard's song. Very nice. In amongst the biscuit you're eating, I see, which is very nice. So, International Vulture Day. Let's talk a little bit about vultures and the plight that they face in this area. They are, of course, Riti, I don't know why this is International Vulture Day. I couldn't begin to tell you why it was chosen, but I can tell you it's very important. And it's important because vultures are one of the most important birds that we find in the ecosystem. All birds are important, of course, but these guys perform a very specific function, and that is as the clean-up crew. They clean up all the carcasses, and that in turn reduces the amount of disease around the place. It reduces the amount of rotting meat all over the place. And their plight is a big one, and it's mainly affected... Oh, there's a little one! Hello, little vulture. James Richard, I don't know what you sang, but it was very successful. That thing was born more than a week ago. We obviously missed exactly when it was born. That's a fairly substantial baby vulture. Is that the baby, or was that just the other adult? It's got a massive head. Senzo, are you sure? I think it is the baby, though. Isn't that sweet? It is the baby, definitely. Yeah, that thing's been around for a good few weeks now. Oh, yes. What a big fellow. Anyway, the plight of vultures is manifold. In this particular area, they are unfortunately hunted for traditional medicine. Now, there are many parts of South African traditional medicine that are fantastic, and they certainly complement what is an absolutely atrocious attempt by the government to provide medicine to our people. But there are aspects of it, much like, for example, the rhino horn, or the use of rhino horn in the Far East for various bits of medicine. There are aspects of traditional medicine in this part of the world that really have no business being around in 2018, and the killing of vultures is one of those things. Because vultures are around the dead, they are often thought to be able to see into the future, and because of that they are hunted by traditional healers, and they are hunted, unfortunately, by poisoning carcasses. Now, of course, vultures cannot be restricted to protected areas because they fly over fences, and despite the fact that we have been asked whether or how on earth we keep the birds inside the park, we cannot keep the birds inside the park, and so they fly out, and they will find the carcass of a donkey or a goat or something like that, and they will feed on it. And those carcasses are often poisoned, and so sometimes, if the carcass is cleverly placed, it can bring a haul of more than 100 vultures. And that obviously drives the population down. So that's a big problem. Then farmers do the same sorts of things. Commercial farmers, not to kill vultures, they'll poison carcasses to kill other animals that kill their livestock, like jackals or caracals or other things like that, maybe even leopards. And the vultures then eventually devour that flesh too, and they die. And so, well, unsurprisingly, it is human beings that are bringing about the demise of these vultures. There are 5 species here. This is the first one. This is the white-backed vulture. It's the most common. Then we get the lappet-faced, we get the white-headed, the hooded, and then the Cape vulture sometimes flies over from the Drakensberg. They are the only cliff-nesting vultures that we find in this area. But I started working in this area in the year 2000, and I can remember the sky being thick with vultures regularly. And then I went away for a little while, and when I came back, it was really noticeable, the difference. So, although there are certainly plenty up in East Africa, I think they're doing a lot better than they are here. It's really not great. Gabby, we think vultures live naturally probably for about 20 years. I will just check my app. Maybe just less than 20 years, but they're relatively long-lived. Vulture. I'm not sure they live as long as a batelier, which is able to live around 22 years. I have heard estimates of 40 or so, but I think that's probably a bit long. Stratus. And they're certainly vulnerable, even though they're the most common. And Brent actually, ask him about this when we next go up to him. He posted a wonderful thing about a vulture that had been satellite collared, obviously with the collar slightly smaller than Waffles's. But this vulture flew an astonishing distance. It flew all the way up into northern Zimbabwe, across into Mozambique, down the coast, over here, did a number of circuits like that. So they really do fly huge distances. Up to 1,426 square kilometer movements. Yeah, so I can't find their longevity, but I'm going to say around about 15 to 20 years. Yes, there most certainly are breeding programs for vultures. A lot of areas have breeding programs for vultures where they're protected, but of course once they leave their nests and they are released into the wild, they're at the mercy of human beings, which of course is just, nobody wants to be at the mercy of human beings. The Endangered Wildlife Trust, the same guys that do a huge amount of wild dog work and out here in the Sabi Sands and in the Kruger in general, have an enormous vulture unit, and they've been working on vultures for many, many, many years and doing great, great work. No, Rosalind, these ones don't smell death actually. So these are old world vultures, which means they live in Africa in the old world, as opposed to the new world, which is the Americas. And they are not very closely related to the new world vultures, which would of course include an obvious iconic example like the Andean condor. Now the Andean condor does find its prey apparently largely by smell, and that's the same way that the storks here that scavenge find their prey. So a marabou stork, I'm sure it's got very good eyes, but it also finds prey with smell. These vultures use their eyes. They have the most phenomenal eyes, and its smell plays a small role. And the reason for that, of course, is that they live in woodland, open woodland and savanna areas, which means their eyes are probably going to be more effective than their noses, whereas the condors and New World vultures often live over forested areas. And, well, you can't see beneath the tree canopy quite often, and so your nose has to be quite effective. Yes, they do, Tink Maraschino. They absolutely have a very good disease-resistant system. They're able to digest the foulest, most rotting flesh. Very powerful stomach juices to break down any nasty bacteria there. I mean, imagine this young bird's been eating not only rotting flesh, but regurgitated rotting flesh. That sounds like a beastly thing to have to do. Now, I don't know if this is Mrs. or Mr. Vulture, but whoever it is, the opposite, or the partner, will be flying around looking for food. And they're one of the very few birds that breeds at this time of the year. Nikita, not one tree, but they certainly do return to nests. I don't think they always return to the same tree like the Wahlberg's eagle does. I'll check again on my app. I mean, they certainly do return to similar trees or areas that are the same. No, not the Cape vulture. There we go, white-backed vulture. Breeding, nest. Foraging and food. They're presumed to pair for life, don't really know though. Often in small colonies. Usually placed over the tree canopy, blah 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 blah. Sometimes on top of other raptors' nests. Yeah. No, so we don't know. One record of 2 nests 5 meters apart. It doesn't say specifically, but we've definitely seen vultures nesting, if not in the same nest, in similar nests. They're not quite as territorial as the Wahlberg's eagles, though. Whew, it's quite a quite a Twitter handle here. Say my name, boy. Phew. Let me just wipe my brow here. You're wondering how long it takes them to fly. That I can tell you. Again, I'm going to have to consult, but I think it's about 2 months. Just over 2 months, I suspect. I'll tell you now. Nest, eggies, incubation, development to care of young, 5 to 6 months. From 90 days nestling, sometimes left alone. Tightly wooded, blah blah, nestling period 108 to 140 days. So, wow, okay, so it can stay in the nest until it's almost 4 months old. So I'm just quickly reading here. At 5 weeks, the feather quills along main dorsal wing track, 9 to 10 weeks. Yeah. So actually about 4 months that they will stay in the nest. I presume they could probably fly a little bit before that, but they'll be left in the nest alone from about 90 days. I think that thing is about 30 days old. I don't think it's very young. You can see its head is almost the same size as its mother's. Although obviously still very dependent. One does wonder what they're saying to each other up there. Do you think she's reading it a Harry Potter story, perhaps? Probably not, because the birds in that book are all owls, aren't they? Not a great library of books featuring vultures as the heroes. Perhaps there's some vulturine authors I don't know about. She's not looking very impressed. She's probably just making stories up. All right, I think we should probably move on from here. That was a wonderful vulture sighting. Thank you, James Richard, for pointing out to us that it is, in fact, International Vulture Day. They're extremely valuable birds, and, well, their plight is a big one, and we need to do what we can to publicize it and then, of course, try and stop the inane and ridiculous killing of these animals and any animals for their medicinal purposes. Okay, let's move on from here. We're going to go off towards Treehouse Waterhole and see what we can find down there. All right, let's go back to Leo Smith. I would suggest very strongly that you ask him about that. Oh, no. No, we're not going to go to Brent. Sorry about that. I think he's hit a traffic jam of some description. Alrighty, let's go down towards Treehouse Waterhole. Oh, Tristan, by the way, has had to return to camp because his car's died. Take care. You want to know if the young ones use the toilet in the nest. I'm not sure that there is a toilet in the nest. Take care. I think you'll probably find that there is a nest without toilet. There's a lovely bird up there. I do know what you mean, though. Take care. You mean, obviously, do they defecate in the nest? I think they do, yeah. There's no way that they can't. I don't know if their mothers clean it up. But remember, it's just a nest of sticks. And so most of it probably just filters through to the bottom. There's nothing waterproof about it. That is a fish eagle, everyone. And it is flying very high. It may even call from up there. For many people, it is the sound of Africa, the sound of the fish eagle. For me, it is the sound of cliché. It is the ultimate cliché. If you hear this in a wildlife documentary and you don't actually see the bird and the bird isn't part of the story, turn the documentary off and write to the producers and say, come now, could you not have found something more original? Of all the sounds available in Africa. That's not to say it isn't a nice call, but you know, there's only so many times you can listen to an ABBA song before you're sick of it. Know what I mean? Alrighty, now we're going to go across to Brent, I hope, in 10 seconds. And you can ask him about the Vulture project because he knows quite a lot more about it than I do.
Well, they have woken up, well, at least a little bit. There is Scarface, one of the most famous lions in the world. And if he turns, we can actually see why. There we go. Look, there we go. He's showing you nicely. He's got such a floppy mane. Funny looking cat, old Scarface. But a very impressive large mane on him. Oh, and we're going to go back to sleep. Well, at least we got to see him standing up. Lions, of course, as you all know, are quite lazy for the majority of the time. We're going to keep moving. Maybe we come back here a little later. And so there's about to be a large traffic jam, and we will just get out of it quickly. Now, remember, hashtag SafariLive if you have any questions for us. One of the other musketeers was around somewhere this morning, so I'm going to go have a look there. We are getting to that wonderful time of the evening where we are the only people out in the park. And I'm hoping maybe the North Clan will be around as well. Oh, lovely light coming through the clouds over there. Kalsik, I haven't had any news on the Sausage Tree Pride. Unfortunately, with all this rain, the area they're in, I just can't even get into at the moment. So, unfortunately, no news. It's been very sticky down there, and with all the rain we've had. But if we have a couple of dry days, I'll definitely start heading back into that area to see if we can catch up with the sausages. Oh, the light is turning absolutely magnificent now. Beautiful afternoon here in Kenya. Still a little bit nippy, but not too bad. Let's go see if we can find the other musketeer male. There's 3 around at the moment. There's actually another one. We couldn't really see him where Scar was, lying in the grass. And then the 3rd musketeer is somewhere here, so it could even be the 4th around as well. I'm not sure. Let us go see what we can see. Now, apparently he's got a topi kill. And maybe the North Clan are going to come in a bit later. And as James was chatting about, it's International Vultures Day. And, hopefully we'll see some vultures. There's normally a few around this area, especially if there's a kill over here. But as James was saying, I think how long they live out in the wild, they live about 20 years. The oldest recorded living vulture is about 33, but that was in captivity. And there's some incredible research with satellite collars that's going on with vultures at the moment. And there's a vulture that was seen at my parents' house a few weeks ago, and it's got a satellite tracking tag on it. And he had been all the way to the Zambezi River and back, and across Kruger and all over. They are capable, I'll find a map of vulture movements for you just now. They are capable of such incredible movements and distances. Particularly the white-backed vultures, less so the Cape and the others, but the white-backed vultures have been known to range far and wide. Vultures that have been tagged just outside Johannesburg in the Magaliesberg Mountains have settled down in the Okavango Delta. That's well over 1,000 kilometers away. So quite interesting how they are able to move, and they're such an important cog in the ecosystem, so we definitely need to conserve them. Now, interestingly enough, the vultures here in Kenya and Tanzania, quite a lot of them actually move with the migration. They follow that huge amount of snacks as they move. Now, let's see, is the lion here, or is it on the other side of the concrete bridge? Apparently someone got stuck here earlier today, caused an absolute nightmare. Oh, it looks like he's a very sleepy lion though. Ah, I see where someone got stuck. No. How? I'm not quite sure. Oh, he is so fat, he's barely eaten his topi. And this is again another one of the musketeers. Taja is wondering, would there be more room for lions in the Mara? Probably not, Tara. I think that the population is stable and about what it should be. Now, the problem comes is with the males, and when they have to move, that the fact that the lion population in the Mara is so set that they move into community areas and into cattle lands, and that can cause a big problem because they are often then persecuted in those areas. So unfortunately, human beings take up a lot more space, and the animals suffer. Not only lions, but elephants, buffalo, and lots of other species that come into conflict with human beings when they leave the protected parks. So I'm definitely quite interested to see if North Clan decides to come in here a little bit later. I wonder if they're even aware that there's almost a full carcass with only a single lion in their territory. Very quiet and peaceful here in the Mara at the moment. Oh, I did not even know. But apparently we've got someone trying out for SafariLive, so be nice. And let me, without further ado, introduce you to Ravin.
Hi, good almost evening, everyone. This is Rabin, and I'm currently, if I could say, homeless. But anyway, welcome to this evening's show, and we are currently focused on some wildebeest. Now, unfortunately, wildebeest have the reputation of being very ugly. I do not think this is the case. I think they're actually absolutely beautiful animals. And you can see there's two of them, and as you know, we have the great migration happening currently in the Masai Mara. These guys probably got left behind, unfortunately. So they are standing in the shade, and you will often see them very closely walking with a zebra. Zebra, as has probably been described to you in the past, they normally cut off the top layer of grass. And the wildebeest prefer the shorter grass. It's nutrient rich, and you will often see them together, but also numbers, greater numbers, safety in numbers. They call it the selfish herd, where animals try to move to the middle and they stay safely away from predators. Now we're going to turn our focus a little bit to the right here. Again, you will see we have a lot of female impala. I'm struggling to see where the males are. Usually a harem like this, of this size, would have... Okay, we focus on the male now. A harem of this size would have maybe 2 or 3 males that actually sire all of the offspring, and they would fight for access to the females when they're ready. And this looks to be a number of about 50 or 60 animals here. Usually one male could actually sire over a number this big, but in this case there seems to be quite a few, so we're possibly looking at coming up to rutting. I'm not sure. I think the dates could be about right, and they will start challenging each other. And I promise you, I've heard this before, in the middle of the night it sounds like thunderclaps. It's actually really impressive. And when these guys fight for access to the females, and their gestation period is not very long, it's about 12 weeks, and usually the females give birth. Contrary to popular belief, which I've read several times and heard about it all the time, they cannot control when they give birth. They do have a preferred time to give birth, which is just early into spring, when after the first rains, the grass is nice and lush. The babies get the most out of their food. And so if you hear that, tell the people, maybe your information isn't quite accurate, and let's see what they have to say. Hello, Aussie Bunny. Very good question. And yes, they do get water from the grass, but not at the moment. As you can see, we are actually at the end of the dry season. It is very dry. The animals are eating the grass, but they're getting very little water from it. So the water points become particularly important because they will move to and from these water points. They are less accustomed to going towards these water points during the rainy season because they get so much nutrients from that water, from those grasses. But as you can see, as I mentioned before, yes. Hi, Kirsty. Thanks for the question. I completely love the black rhinoceros. It is my favorite animal. I've actually written an extensive husbandry manual on them. I think I like the fact that they are so aggressive. They are one of males, when they have dyadic encounters, which is aggressive encounters, 90% of the time one of them dies. So it is that's not something to be terribly impressed about, but they've got terrible eyesight, their smell is excellent, and their hearing is average. I've read but not seen myself that they often charge large anthills because they get a smell, they're connected to the anthill, and they charge it and they run right through it because they think it could be a threat to them. Okay, Tristan is on the move, so we'll be heading over to Tristan soon.
We are indeed. We're back up and running after a slight malfunction of our antenna, but all is good now, and hopefully everything will be all right. We had to come back and have a little quick look around and try and kind of figure out what was wrong, and it turned out that I may or may not have, according to David, I did, according to me, not so much, hit a rather large branch. I thought it was a little twig. David informs me that it was not a twig, and therefore we had a bit of antenna damage, which Conrad is now fixed, and so we're out. Now what we're doing is because we had to come back to camp, I'm just going to do a quick loop past Gallagher Pan, but I'm driving quite fast, you'll notice, because there's a reason for this. On my way back to camp, as I got to kind of Buffelshoek Dam, there's some ellies that were heading in that direction, so I want to try and catch them while they're still drinking in that area, and so we're going to have to do a bit of a racing maneuver to get back there. I was saying that I wanted to head there for ellies. Yes, I know, I'm sorry, I disturbed you. It's a Franklin that's shouting at me. So we're going to do a drive-by past Gallagher Pan, hope that Hosanna maybe is drinking. If he's not drinking, mad dash off to the ellies, and then slowly work my way back here for the last sort of hour. What is the time? I don't even know what the time is. Yes, last hour of drive, last 45 minutes, see if we can maybe pick up little Hosanna cat as he comes down. He will drink at some point. It's just a matter of which pan he's going to choose and when he's going to do it. And so now is a really nice golden time of the day. It's cooled down significantly since we started the drive, and so it's the perfect time in order to be able to kind of figure out what's going on. Where were you, all you birds, yesterday afternoon when I needed to beat Brent? Birds fluttering about all over the place at the moment. I'm actually quite surprised we didn't get a Franklin with Brent yesterday. I didn't get a Franklin. I'm not sure if potentially Sydney did. Hosanna, where are you? Yeah, kitty. No, there's a Dyker, so there's no Hosanna. No, there's our giraffe from earlier. He's bathed in golden light at the moment. Alright, no sign of Hosanna at the pan. Let's quickly shoot off. What we're going to do is we're going to hopefully have the ears of our final control listening out and maybe potentially hearing some alarm calls or some vocalizing or something of that sort in this area. Let's just check up that road, make sure Hosanna's not walking around. Emma assures me that she will be listening. Good job, Emma. Well done. Keep up the good work in final control there in terms of listening out for our favorite little cat. Okay, no sign of him. Right, now is everybody ready? I'm actually quite excited to do this because I haven't dropped the hammer, so to speak, with Rusty in quite some time, so I'm quite looking forward to actually hearing Rusty rev a little bit because it's a good sound. Rusty has a nice sound to it. Now, sorry Emma, confirm the name for me please. Something boy I heard. Say my name boy. What is my thoughts on the 4 leopard encounter that was had yesterday evening? Well, the 4 leopards I think was quite special. I mean I obviously went and watched the video to try and kind of just see what happened, and lots and lots of things were at play there. It seems as like there was mass confusion to start with as to who everybody was, and I think there was a bit of panic with Kalamba seeing Tingana and Hosanna and all at once, and eventually it seemed like everything kind of got quite settled towards the end and everybody seemed fairly kind of comfortable. It absolutely amazes me that Tingana is as relaxed as he is with Hosanna around his offspring. It really kind of baffles me to think that they are as relaxed as they are around each other. It's amazing that they all kind of were milling about, and it had to happen. At some point we had to see all 4 of them come together. I personally think that they've been together this week already, north of Gallagher Pan, and we just didn't get it. But I'm just so glad it happened where we could have a camera and we could see those interactions, and I'm amazed that Hosanna, even though there's all these leopards there, he still went chasing after scrub hares and killed one. You would think that with all the leopards there he would not think about hunting, but just goes to show how opportunistic a leopard can be, that he chased a scrub hare and managed to kill it and bring it down. I still also think that there was another meal there. It wasn't just the scrub hare, because definitely I was awake until about midnight last night and I heard something dying. I couldn't figure out exactly where. I was in my room at the time and I couldn't hear over. I had music that was playing and it just kind of braked, and I just heard the alarm or the distress call at that point, and so I just faintly picked it up, but I'm pretty sure there was something else, and the way that all those leopards converged on that pan would indicate that something did get killed somewhere there. And the scrub hare unfortunately doesn't make a noise big enough to have kind of caught my attention in that way. But interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out from here. I have a theory as to why there was so much movement of the leopards, which I'll get into. So basically, I think that, you know, obviously the 4 of them were there, but I have a funny feeling that the one that's coming into Eastris is not Tundi, but I know James spoke about it this morning, and he was saying Tundi is the one that he was thinking maybe is coming into Eastris, and I have a funny feeling that potentially it wasn't Tundi, but it was actually Kuchava that is in a Eastris, because I spoke to the guys in the south, and they said that they had tracks for a female leopard crossing at the Milwati, and lots of audio for a leopard calling around that area. And we know that Kuchava lost her cub, and so if she's come into an Eastris cycle, sorry David, this bump is ridiculous, but if she's come into an Eastris cycle and she's calling, that could be why Tundi was dragged all the way south towards Twin Dams, and why she was, you know, moving all over the place there, and why Tingana is also sniffing around as much as he is and trying to kind of figure it out, because if there's a leopard in Eastris, he's going to pick it up. It's possible Tundi's in Eastris, but judging by the way he wasn't interested in her at the pan, and then later he was so interested in all the scent, I wonder if maybe Kuchava wasn't walking around there last night, and that's why he's kind of picking up that scent more than anything else. Right, now we're going to open the taps Rusty a little bit as we try to get towards Buffelshoek Dam. The reason I came this way is because Buffelshoek boundary is far easier to drive on than the other roads to try and get to the dam as quick as possible. Blue Monkey Pig, did I get that right? Because if it says Blue Monkey Pig, that is another name altogether for a handle. Ah, so it's our Beard's sister, Blue Monkey. Right, well, Blue Monkey Pig, who chooses the names? Well, the names are decided by the various guides at the lodges where that animal is born. So, Osana was born here on Juma, and so Taxon, Aubrey, Herbie, they all sit together and they come up with names, and then they give them a name. We have very little influence in it. We sometimes will try and get a few, and then much like Columba, ask you guys to have an opinion, the Juma guides first, and see if they're okay with that, and if they say yes, then we'll
Welcome back. We were thinking about heading out into this area here, but it's a bit too sticky still, and I don't want to get stuck this evening, and also there's rain on its way towards us at the moment. So we'll go look for something else. As you can see, this is even after a good day of sunshine. It's still very sticky, and it looks like we're about to get rained on again shortly from over there. So, where to next? Decision time. What do you think, Manu? Left or right? Left. Let's go left. We haven't been left today. Left for a change of scenery. Okay, well, I'm going to keep missioning along while I do that. Let's send you back to Ravin so you can get to know him better.
Hi again, guys. We are on a leopard finding mission. This is where Tingan was this morning, and we tracked him for quite a while, probably about a good hour or so after we found him. He made his way this way and he walked right across. We're struggling to find tracks for him at the moment to determine which way he's gone, but we will keep searching. In the meantime, you can see this side we've got a
everybody. Hold on.
Sorry, everyone.
Right. Let's go again with Dory's question. Yeah?
Can we go again with the question?
Straight. Straight. No, left.
Yes. Hi, Dory. Thanks for the question. Dory, I was born in South Africa, but grew up in New Zealand. We immigrated there when I was very young. I was 4 years old, but I've spent half of my time in between the two countries, doing a bit of study in New Zealand and some time in the South African military. And I have been guiding for about 20 minutes. Those are very cute little warthogs. As you can see, they're foraging. This is a great time of the day for them to forage. So this is a good indication why we probably haven't seen leopard tracks around. These guys look very calm, very comfortable. There you can see they've also got quite young offspring. They're doing their thing. And you can see, I think it's I can't see the one at the back. Okay, the male is in the back. You can see his tusks. Usually the males have the big, long, aggressive tusks, and the female has the little tufts of hair just behind where the tusks would come out. And these guys are enjoying the sunset. They seem to be looking at us, and they dig up the tusks. Obviously used. You can see this male's got actually a very impressive. It's alright. They are ivory, just like elephants, in case you didn't know. And unfortunately, that has put them on a few target lists. So, due to the status of what the teeth are made, it's essentially a tooth. It's used for digging up shrubs. It's used for, obviously, defense. They can be extremely aggressive. To me, they've always, I mentioned before, my favorite animal is the rhino. I've always called these like little miniature rhinos because when they run, their tails are also up in defense or running away from any form of danger. And they seem to be quite nice and calm. And there's even antelope in the background, again also very calm. So I'm assuming, based on this, that there's probably no leopard in this area. Thanks, MK. Well, same species, if you call it that. They're not quite the bush pig, but yeah, I don't see it as bacon myself. I see it as one of our beautiful warthogs. But thanks, MK, for the comment. Thanks, guys. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's great to be here and to be sharing this amazing place with you, Djuma Private Game Reserve, on the outskirts of the Kruger National Park in South Africa. Yeah, as I grew up in a big city, and once I was exposed to these types of places, I've never looked back. And now, when I go into the city, I feel claustrophobic. I've travelled a bit, and this is home. And but again, thank you for the welcome, and I hope to see lots more of you, with everyone in the future. Alrighty, we're crossing over to Brent in the Mara. I'm not sure what he's got in store for you, but keep tuned and we'll be enjoying the beautiful sunset, and it's over to Brent.
Well, we're sitting on the edge of the Mara River, having a quick look around. I'm wondering if a little bit later we might get some hyenas around that carcass. I don't think so. as due to the fact that they're... Hi! Sorry, I'm live, guys. Oh, there we go. What's up? We got up there. My new juvenile fish eagle by the looks of things. Or is it a vulture? For Vulture Day. It is a vulture. It's Rupel's... It's Rupel's griffin, since it is International Vulture Awareness Day. Fitting that we get to see one. Oh, excuse me. And one we won't see back in South Africa. There were a pair of fish eagles around a little bit earlier. And what else is out at the river's edge today? What have you spotted amongst the debris there, Manu? It's a stick pretending to be a hammerkorp. Oh, so nice and peaceful here next to the river. A few hippos about. Very relaxed, that one hippo. Voraz is wondering, are crocodiles territorial? Indeed they are. Particularly the bigger males. They will move territories depending on food availability, but they are territorial. Very relaxed hippopotamus down there. Yes, you getting ready for a busy night out on the plains. That one's small enough for the North Clan of hyenas to think about snacking on, although I think the hyenas have stopped hunting hippo now that there's a few wildebeest and zebra about. Okay, well, I'm going to keep wandering about, see what else I can find. Let's send you back to Tristan, who's got an elephant in the sunset.
I do indeed, Brent Leo Smith. I have more than one elephant. Unfortunately, we just didn't catch them as they were drinking, but we have got them in the most beautiful spot. They're sitting kind of crossing the road now with the sun silhouetting them as they do so. It really is quite spectacular to kind of watch them going about it. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's absolutely wonderful way to see ellies. Unfortunately, they've crossed a little bit further than I first anticipated, but that doesn't mean that we can't catch them, because they're going to go onto Buffelshoek boundary, which means that we will be able to actually get them quite nicely. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. That is very pretty. Now, why are you running like that? There's a ellie that is running away very obviously got some reason, is a little bit nervous of what's going on, but we'll try and kind of catch them on the boundary. They should be crossing any minute now, and it will be beautiful. If I was hoping they would have crossed a little bit further down, but something's definitely spooked them, because just now the whole herd stopped. They didn't feed, they didn't do anything. They just kind of got to a point where they were just going to stay dead still, and they listened, and now they're kind of trotting a little bit, and everybody is a little bit kind of bent out of shape for some reason. I don't know what the story is. Maybe there's a bull around that's following them behind them, but we missed them by minutes at the water. As we came around to Buffelshoek Dam, we just saw them all filing out of the dam itself. I was pretty upset about it. I was hoping that we were going to get them in the water at this late afternoon light. It would have been absolutely beautiful. Now, well, David, I'm going to try and do something and see if this works. It might not work, but we're going to try and be artistic here. So, Marcy, you say, what a beautiful picture. Indeed. Now, David, let me know if this works, because this might be the trick that we're going to use to get this right, is we're going to try and see if I can get a silhouette shot of the ellies from a very low point of view. How's that, David? That work? Okay. Should work. It seems like it's the right kind of place. So maybe it would be nice if the ellies were a little bit closer to the edge of where we're sitting, but that's the silhouette that we were trying to go for. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Emma. I thought it was quite artistic myself. It's hopefully going to work quite nicely. If the ellies cross where the sun is, it will be very, very pretty. Oh, look at that. That's a lovely way to spend the afternoon, isn't it? Golden ellies. I think so. It's not very often we get silhouettes here at Djuma because of the way that the terrain is, the thickets that we have, and the kind of way the sun sets. There's a lot of places where it's very difficult to actually get that effect. So always quite nice when we can kind of get backlit ellies that move through golden sunshine. Look at that. Now they're all just feeding at the moment. They have had a swim, they've had a dust bath, and now it's just time to have a little bit of a feed. as the darkness sets in, and they'll continue to feed for a little bit, and then they'll actually start to sleep, and you'll find the little babies will lie down. And that's one thing that we've seen quite a bit with the drone in the nighttime stuff that we've done, is that the ellies often lie down for quite long periods of time, and the whole herd sometimes is sleeping on their sides, which is quite interesting as they go. Look at that. Oh, well done, David. Very good job. I think so. I think you've done a fine effort. You can pat yourself on the back, David. Right, let's try catch up with them, because they're going to cross the road in front of us. What a beautiful afternoon again. We've been so spoilt with weather. Spring has definitely sprung at the moment. Child of the universe, at this time of the year, mostly bark and roots and bulbs that are under the surface. Those are areas where plants will store their last remaining nutrients. And so they target those areas, so cambium layers. Oh, that's also very, very pretty. In some respects, actually quite pleasant. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? There's a nice big herd that's just kind of crossing over the road as they go. I think it's absolutely spectacular, the way that they kind of all filing over. Now, they seem to be a little on the shy side, though, a lot of them, which means that we're not seeing them kind of sticking around for too long. They're all kind of moving quite fast. You can see a little baby there that is also milling about down the road, and there comes the rest of the herd crossing over. There's lots and lots and lots of them, but they're all going northwards into Buffelshoek, I'm afraid, which is not quite ideal. I was hoping that they were going to mill about a little bit longer, but look at the dust in the air that's just catching the light as well. Isn't that beautiful? One more is coming, David, so you can hold your shot. There's the sunset, and we should get one more that will come over at some point in time. It should be fairly soon, actually, that it will pop over and kind of make its way onto the road. It's the last of them, which is probably a young bull, and then you've got this beautiful sunset once again. A few little clouds on the horizon, which is a bit different to what we've been seeing the last few days that we've had prior to this. There's been no clouds whatsoever, so it's interesting that there's a few clouds. I wonder if that's going to indicate the kind of change in the weather that we're going to have, or if we're going to get maybe a bit of a cold front. So Ginger, we should start expecting rain from probably, generally, I mean, around the end of September, early October. That's normally the time that rain starts to fall in this area. Last year it was a bit later than that, but that's generally from October all the way through until March next year, April next year, is when we theoretically should get rain. So I think everyone's looking forward to it, just to settle the dust and get everything looking spruce and green again. But that was beautiful. I think that was a wonderful and worth the race, because if we had not raced here, we would not have got these ellies. We would have just got the tail of them going out and into Buffelshoek. Now, I do apologize if you hear a noise. It's just that my hair is fallen out of my cap a little bit, and it's irritating my head, so I was just trying to scrape it out of the way. Right. Now, while we head off into the sunset like a Western movie, let's send you back across to Rabin, who is, I'm not sure what he's up to at the moment, but let's see what he's been doing.
Hi guys, welcome back. As you can see, we are just exiting the riverbed. Very thick sand, so I've just got to be careful a bit here. Luckily we've got our full 4x4 engaged, so we should be okay. In the meantime, we've still been looking for leopard. And what do we have here? Just to the right here. Hi Anthony, thanks for the question. I did a double degree in zoology and ecology. And I studied at the University of Otago in New Zealand before going on to a postgraduate in captive, semi-captive wild animal management. Yes, thanks for that. And as you can see, ironically enough, my favorite bird, the crested barbet, You can see their beautiful plumage, and what I love, I was, ironically enough, I first saw them in Pretoria, in the city, so they are widespread throughout South Africa. They can be, you can see their beaks, the shape of the beak normally dictates sort of the type of food that these animals eat. So these birds can be extremely aggressive when they are threatened in any way. When they're territorial, they normally form homes in logs or in hollows of trees. And it's funny because when even other barbets try to take over their homes, they can become extremely aggressive and get into aggressive fights. And what I also really love about these guys is their calling sound. And I'm going to completely embarrass myself right now and try and attempt that. It goes something like this. And I'm not sure if we're going to get some feedback from our little friend here. But there's my embarrassing moment for our Saturday. Thank you. And as we enjoy the sunset, we're going to carry on. One of my favorite sighting experiences has actually been where I worked in Pretoria on a game reserve. There's actually been two young giraffes necking each other, and if you're not sure what necking is, two giraffes engage in battle, usually over females, and it's a very coordinated swinging of the necks. It's like a pendulum effect where they use their big, strong, muscular heads. And of course the ossicones at the top, remember they're not horns, they are ossicones, so that is the natural shape of the skull. And they swing them along, and I actually saw one giraffe completely sweep the legs. I watched it long enough, I was probably watching it for about 20 minutes. This one giraffe actually ducked out of the way from his opponent and then swept back and took him clean off his legs, and then casually walked away like this was nothing. And that for me was something incredible that I'd never seen before, and that's one of my highlights. Thanks for the question. Hi Debbie, thanks for the question. Yes, I've been extremely fortunate to see Tingaan twice now. I saw him last night when we tracked him, and again this morning. It's only been the second time in my life that I've seen leopard in the wild leopard. I've seen them on camera traps that I've set up, but to be this close to Tingaan, which I've obviously heard about a lot, was absolutely incredible. Okay, so apparently, because we're a little bit in the dark here, we're going to be heading over to Tristan, who's got a beautiful sunset.
We do. We have what can only be described as an iconic sunset. It is really quite something. That sun is a massive, massive orange ball of fire, and you can see that it's just slowly setting behind the northern tip of the Drakensberg Mountains. Is that not absolutely beautiful? Now, this is a path that we're leading. We're driving straight into it. It's one of the best times of year to drive the Buffelshoek boundary because both the sunrise and sunset falls pretty much on this straight road. And so you kind of drive into these big orange ball. It's absolutely amazing. And I was just saying to David now, can you imagine if there was a lion or a leopard crossing this road at the moment? So just below where that sun is right now is where the road actually is. It's like a little kind of bump in the road, and so you would have that as a perfect kind of silhouette of the leopard or lion crossing. It would be absolutely quite something. So one day I will get that shot on this boundary at some point. It's a shot that I've always wanted, is that big orange sun with a leopard in a tree, but you'll know we'll have to kind of keep trying. But there you can see the road. You see the little sort of bump? Imagine now a leopard walking across there. I think that would be quite something. Well, in my mind anyway. Hopefully you guys agree. If you don't, well, it's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinions. But that is a beautiful sunset. It is a magic way to be driving into that is not the worst thing to be seeing in life, and we sometimes forget how spoiled we are. And David and I were talking that at the end of quite a long working stint, both of us are, have done quite a few weeks now, and at the end of these kind of stints, sometimes you start forgetting about where you are and how lucky we are to be able to spend as much time as we do in places like this. And a sighting like those Ellies and that setting sun now just reminds you of how special it is to be out here and how wonderful it is to be able to spend time in the wilds of Africa and watch sunsets like that, and just kind of be able to witness that dust coming off the elephant's feet as they walk. That almost looks like fire kind of as they go. So very special in many respects, and that certainly makes up for a long stint of work. You feel energized when you see sightings like that or sunsets like this. Well, I do. I mean, I don't know about the rest. I can't speak for everybody, but that's how I feel about it, and it definitely makes me, I believe a lot of you agree, which is a good thing. Now, of course, I was saying it's the end of a long year cycle, so I'm going to be going on leave soon. I will be going on leave on Tuesday, which is quite nice, and I'm really looking forward to going on leave. Not only because it would be nice to have a bit of a break, but it will also be very nice because I'm going to the Congo. So I'm going to the Republic of Congo. I'm going to a national park called Zala, which is in the Republic of Congo, not the Democratic Republic of Congo. I know it's quite confusing, but it's in the Republic of Congo, and basically I'm going to go and track down western lowland gorillas and various other crazy species like forest elephant, forest buffalo, and chimpanzees and those kind of things. And I think it's going to be an absolutely wonderful time. In fact, I'm really looking forward more than anything, to be honest. The gorillas are going to be great, but what I'm really looking forward to is walking around. There you can walk around barefoot in these big salt water platforms, basically, which are called bays, and a lot of the animals come down and drink there. And so you walk around and photograph things like elephants, forest elephants on foot. And I was watching a few videos of a friend of mine that's working there, and I got very excited today. And then also the bird life is just spectacular. So gonna have a good time of it. There's a lot of birds that I want to see when I'm there, and so hopefully all the animals will come out to play and we'll get to see a lot of amazing things. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to head now towards Gallagher Pan, but I think I'm going to take the next road. I'm not going to take Mvubu because we've driven Mvubu a few times, so I'm going to take the next road and we're going to go try to see if we can just get a last minute Hosanna. So I believe a lot of you say Congo sounds amazing. Well, I hope so. I mean, it's quite a trip to take, and it's one that is burnt a rather large hole in the wallet, to be honest, but it's going to be very, very cool to go. And I'm going with a couple of friends, so I'm going with somebody that's mentioned quite a lot on Drive. In fact, James was talking about him yesterday or the day before, Adam Bannister. So he's in the Mara, works for Ngama, and does a lot of the leopard stuff in the Mara at the moment. So I've known him since we were about, I'm just trying to think, 7 years old, and we went to primary school together. And so I'm going with him, and it should be absolutely a lot of fun. He's a very like-minded individual, and we have spent some time out in the bush before, so it'll be good. And we actually, now that we've just kind of about to embark on this one, we've started planning for next year, but we haven't settled on what we're going to do. He and I both have a long list of where we want to go, except that he's ticked off a lot more than I have in his travels, and so we're going to try and see if we can figure out something. We both have polar bears pretty high up, but unfortunately polar bears are just well beyond our means at the moment. It's really not a cheap exercise to go and see polar bears, unfortunately, so we'll have to try and relook at that one. But we've got all kinds of other things. We both have contacts for snow leopards, which for me would be an absolute amazing thing to go and see. I obviously wanted to do the jaguars, and I was supposed to do the jaguars this year in August, but we had to cancel that due to our TV show, so we'll maybe try and reschedule that. And I just had a friend that came back from the Pantanal, which is where you go to see the jaguars in Brazil, and he had the most spectacular time. In 14 days, he told me he saw 53 different sightings of jaguars. Now, 53 sightings of jaguars in 14 days is no joke. That is ridiculous. And he said it was just insane. They had mating jaguars, they had cubs, they had everything, hunting, swimming, the whole works. And he said it was just unbelievable. So hoping to try and kind of maybe get that in at some point. That would be quite nice. It would be a really quite special thing for me. Jaguar is an animal that I've wanted. Jaguar and snow leopard and tigers are animals that I've wanted to see since I was a kid. So those are the 3 top ones for me, and I really hope that at some point I will be able to find them. Now, we're just going past where Tingana was chased up the tree by the Nkuhumas a few days ago. It's unfortunately not up the tree anymore. Sheila, yes, Ali will be with me. She's currently actually in Italy at the moment, and she's going to be flying back to South Africa tomorrow, and then I'll meet up with her in Johannesburg on Tuesday, and then we fly out on Wednesday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. What a lovely time to be on an aeroplane and awake. And so we'll head to Rwanda, and then from Rwanda into the Congo from there, so should be quite nice. So yes, Ali will be with me, and then there's another 5 people that are also traveling in our group that we know as well. So it's going to be a great fun. I mean, it's 8 of us. All of us are live in the bush currently and manage or guide or something like that, and so it should be quite a trip. And we'll try and keep everyone updated as we go, because we do get Wi-Fi in 2 of the 3 camps, and so we'll try and kind of post regular updates. But in the meantime, let's send you across to, I think you said James, which means that maybe it's changed with Robin again, I'm not sure. Either way, it will be one of them, and I'm sure they have lots of interesting things to tell you, a lot more interesting than my holiday.
We are going to try desperately in the last few minutes. Hopefully they'll start to get up and move now. Oh! Is it? So it is. Hello? No. Oh, I didn't plug it in. Sorry, hold on one sec. It's not even plugged in yet. Sorry everybody. Oh, goodness gracious me. There we are. Now you should hear me. Yes? Oh, good. Well done. Phew. Terrifying. I think Tristan is going to have a wonderful trip. I think it is going to be a trip, though. In other words, I do not believe that it is going to be a holiday. I think going to Congo Brazzaville could be described as travel rather than holiday. But it will be fantastic. They will see some amazing things, and I hope they get to see lots of gorillas there. I edited a few videos before this current incarnation of my life, and they were, a few of them about the Congo Brazzaville, in exactly the place they're going, and it really does look most spectacular, if slightly hard travelling. But that is not a reason not to go, of course. Now the light is fading, as you can see. The temperature is mercifully dropping, and hopefully that means that we will get some cat action fairly soon. Didn't have a very successful morning today, but hopefully a slightly more successful evening. Wesley, I'm unaware of the total number of honey badger sightings in the Greater Kruger National Park of some 2.2 million hectares. That is a very facetious answer, and I'm sorry for it. We don't see them very often, but over the last, when was it? Probably about 6 weeks ago, we had 2 of the most wonderful honey badger sightings. Sebastian and I had a honey badger run around in front of us, and we followed him for about 45 minutes, him or her. I couldn't tell if it was male or female. Completely relaxed with us as long as we didn't start the car. As soon as we started the car, we got a little bit of a fright, but then let us catch up, and we had a wonderful time. And then another one the day before that, actually, which ran across the road in front of us, hissed at us as if to say, "Don't you dare come near me," and then carried on going. That was also lovely. We do see them from time to time. We don't see them commonly. We don't see them commonly. We don't see them very often. Now we're going down towards where they said they lost Tingana this morning, but I think that cat has been moving around all day. Mary, I will be going up to the Mara at some stage. I'm not sure exactly when, probably in November. So yes, I will be going up to the Mara. We'll be cycling, a number of us, through the Mara. There's Brent and Jamie are coming back here. Scott will probably also come back here at some stage during the course of the year. Not sure just when just yet. So yes, depending on needs, I may or may not go back to the Mara. It would be nice to go back to the Mara, see how things are going there. It is a very special place. It really is. If you love wildlife, it is a magic place to be. Let's turn on a few more lights as the light starts to fade. I believe that the Mara feed, in fact, has gone down purposely. Brent Leo Smith has shut himself down into his tent. I guarantee you he's having a nice cup of coffee and possibly opening a book, which will look moth-eaten but will probably have a good story in it. And that is because there's a lot of lightning about. And so they need to be quite careful. He could also be running from the storm, but I think he's probably sitting drinking coffee, which is excellent. Linda, yes, drives will be live from the Mara as far as we're aware. You know, they are live at the moment. There are various things we're working on there that we think are sorted out, but as far as we know, we're going to be live from the Mara for the foreseeable future. We may have a hiatus at some stage, but we will definitely continue filming in the Mara. That won't change. We will most likely be live from the Mara. We will definitely be live from Djuma, though. It was very interesting, you know, when we first moved to the Mara, there was we thought nobody's going to watch Djuma anymore, you know. It's not an enormous piece of land. We've been driving around it for about 3 years now. Surely, you know, everyone's going to just be, wow, look at the Mara. And that really wasn't the case. It's been so interesting to see how, and it's kind of changed the way we've done things, because although we have driven around all of these places again and again, and many of you know these, just about every tree around just about every single corner, it was the characters and the intimacy of being around these characters that people seemed to miss. And they seemed to not take offense, but really miss that intimacy when we first moved to the Mara. And it was really quite encouraging, because Djuma still clearly has a huge amount to offer this show. And the Mara approach has certainly modified to trying to get to know those characters much more, rather than just driving around and going, because you can drive the Mara and just point with your mouth open, because it really is such an astonishing place. What is that? Yeah. What are you? Oh, you see. I see. Right, I got it. Senzo was saying he thought I'd seen a leopard with my pointing. He thought when I was going, I'd seen a leopard, but I hadn't. Senzo, I've seen nothing. We'll drive up this riverbed and see if we don't see something in here. We did see another herd of some 5 duiker earlier on today, which is very unusual. There's another one. No, don't run. Kat, the particular smells that stand out to me while driving are those of automatic transmission fluid, brake fluid, engine oil, and what's the other one? There's a third one. Clutch fluid, that's right. And petrol. Gasoline. Those are the major smells while driving around. And in this car, Mr. Min. Mr. Min, of course, is a sort of vinyl polish that Tristan uses to clean the dashboard of the car. That wasn't the answer you were looking for, was it? No. Fair enough. No, there are lots of lovely smells out here. And at this time of the year, you're just starting to pick up little bits of spring. It's obviously slightly better on foot, but you can smell them in the car. Knobthorn flowers we can smell. Still that lovely kind of crisp wintry dust smell. Broken, or not broken, but straw. A kind of a slightly sweet straw smell from all the dry grass, which I really like. But we're shortly to be assailed with all sorts of interesting smells as the spring comes upon us. Because spring, of course, is today. Today is spring. And Tingana is not here. Where is he? Tundi and Tlalamba also weren't too far from here, and although I had one of their tracks, I didn't have the other one. So maybe they're all around here. Tingana was on a mission today, and I think Tristan's had a very interesting theory that rather than... There's a bunny. Let's do the bunny, Senzo. Rather than Tundi perhaps coming into Estrus, it could easily be... Can you see the bunny? It could easily be that Guchava, who has been mating with another male, is in Estrus again and hasn't fallen pregnant. What is that? This one's got a nervous tick. And perhaps it was he or she that Tingana was smelling and looking around for. I don't think he was smelling Guchava, but perhaps he can smell that there's a female in Estrus somewhere around here. Look at the heat behind. Oh, I see. We can go to the flare if you like. No, not now. Say when. Because I just want to show you how difficult it's going to be in the summer to use this flare. Seems well, I think that looks all right. Yeah? Okay, let's go to the flare thermal camera. Now look how hot. Oh, no, it's gone off. Now it's back. Is it back? No, it's dying. No, it's off. Never mind. What I was trying to show you there is that the bunny is about as hot as the log behind it, which means that the wood in summer is going to be as hot as any of the animals here, and so this thing's going to be less and less effective as we go towards the summertime. Senzo, what happened there? You don't know? You think it's fine now? Let's try now, Emma, if we don't mind. Yes, let's try once more. Hooray! There we go. There you can see the hot bunny with the hot log behind it. You can see the tree behind is even hotter still. It's even hotter than the bunny. And so the flare thermal camera come the middle of summer is going to be a fairly superfluous instrument until the morning when everything's cooled off a bit. Alrighty, let us continue up the... It does look like it was the heat trail, doesn't it? Looks like the bunny has sort of landed. Landed after a little flight and gone along the ground. But that's not what happened. Okay, we're going to go into black and white now and continue up the way. Major plan other than to try and spot whatever we can. In the meantime, let's go to Tristan, whose plan, of course, is to find Hosanna.
Indeed, and we had some alarm calls for Franklin's down here in the drainage line in front of the camp, which I would imagine is where Hosanna's been for most of the day. So I'm just trying to scavenge is probably a good word, actually. Trying to just see what's going on and see if I can find any sign of him. So I'm coming from this sort of general vicinity, so I'm thinking that he might be somewhere in this area. And we just drove past a bushbuck and a duiker. Both of them look fairly relaxed though, so it doesn't seem like he's kind of doing, well, we've come past them just yet. So it's kind of the drainage that runs towards the dam cam. I'm pretty sure if you're watching the dam cam, you'll see my lights fairly shortly. Just sounded off to the left. There's a path that runs towards this area, so I just thought I would check it with the Franklins going crazy that maybe, just maybe, Hosanna was on his way towards the dam, but so far I don't see any sign of anything. It was pretty much where I am now. So in line with where we are is where I last heard a francolin calling. No sign that I can see there. He's going to go to one of these pans at some point. Captain Awesome. Well, we should start seeing the awesome chameleons hopefully fairly soon. With this warmer weather, we should start to see them. There's a scrub here that's looking very, very, very much like it is a deer in the headlights. Scrub hair in the headlights. Not very happy about being spotted and anything. Look at how that nose is going. Now, this seems to be quite a older scrub hair. Look at its ears. Its ears are actually quite tatty. Normally when you see a scrub hair, the ears are quite clean and they don't have too many cuts in them, but this one's got quite a few little nicks inside its ears. I bet you could actually start to ID scrub hairs. Not that you would want to, because you would have to have ID kits for millions of them, but you probably could by just looking at their ears, which is quite interesting. And the poor scrub hairs in this area, they've had a tough time of late. He grabbed one of them last night, so he's starting to hone his technique a little bit. I wonder if he's going to hunt them again tonight. Scrub hair, be careful. There's a leopard that was around here today, and he probably wants to eat you because he's got a bottomless pit for a tummy. And it seems like this scrub hair also has a bottomless pit for a tummy. It's busy eating all kinds of little forbs and grasses in there. Yes, we're talking about you. It doesn't seem too perturbed by our presence, does it? It's sitting a few meters from us and is looking very proud of itself the way it eats. Look at how cute their little nose is as they go. Isn't that cool? Now, we normally don't get these kind of long views of them. There's so many fleeting glimpses. So look at the nose. It is a cute animal, let's be honest. It's not something that you look at and say, well, that's not very pretty. They're very, very cute, especially when they're eating. It's quite like watching them go about it. Look at those little chubby cheeks and that small little nose. That's very cool. Hey, little one. It is very cute, Emma. I think that it is probably one of the cute animals that we get out here. I'm trying to look on its ears to see if there's any sign of ticks. You see there's a few little dots there, but I wasn't sure if maybe those are ticks or not. It doesn't look like it. It looks like just maybe little scars on it. And you can see how amazing their ears are. Can you imagine how much sound those ears are catching and funneling into the eardrum and making these guys hear very, very well? They've also got quite a large eye in relation to the size of their head, and so they see very well, hear very well, and it's why they don't, although they're not easily hunted by many of the predators, it's difficult to catch these guys. They're fleet-footed, and with their very good hearing, it makes it quite easy to actually kind of get away from predators. The other thing with them is that those ears are hugely important from a point of view of being able to give off heat. We saw it the other day with the fleers, how the ears were actually much cooler than the rest of the body as heat was kind of being dissipated by the blood vessels throughout there, much like an elephant's ear, effectively. The bigger it is, the more that can happen. Very cool. And you can see how those ears can actually move and that can fold up against the body so as that they don't actually... Now, Picky, have I ever seen a savanna scrub hare? I don't even know what a savanna scrub hare is. I thought this would be a scrub hare, savanna scrub hare, given that we are in savannah. Savannah hare. No, I don't know what that is, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'll have to research it to see. Let me have a little look quickly. Hopefully I've got my phone somewhere here. We're quite close to the lodge, so I should be able to pick up some sort of signal that I can quickly Google what you're talking about. Let's see what a savanna hare is. We can do an educational moment here because I actually don't really know what it is. Savanna hare. Let's have a look what it is. Now, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be African savanna hare. There we go. Let's see images for it. It looks like a scrub hare, so is it not just another name for a scrub hare? It does look like that. So, there we go. I mean, this is what it's showing me. It shows me something that is identical. It looks like a scrub hare. It's one and the same thing. So, there we go. We are looking at a savanna hare. I always just knew them as scrub hares, and I've never actually heard of the name African savanna hare, so that's quite interesting. But maybe it's just, you know, given a different name in other places, but we call them just scrub hares, and that's what they're known as, to be honest. I've never heard them called anything else. Look at that scrub hare. You've started a whole conversation. Oh, child of the universe? Unfortunately not. I wish that I had seen a riverine rabbit, but I haven't. It's something that I would like to go and look for, particularly down in the southern parts of South Africa. And you get them, and rock rabbits too. I unfortunately haven't seen too many of those, so I would like to. What we do get every now and then, in fact, was seen recently at Londolozi, is a spring hare. Now, spring hares, Brent might be able to find one actually. You see them sometimes in the Mara, but I'll get a picture of them for you quickly. They are amazing little things. They look completely weird. They do not look like a scrub hare at all. They almost look like a squirrel with kangaroo legs. And I say that it's actually a cross between a squirrel, a kangaroo, and a slender mongoose. So here we go. There's an image of one. Now I'm just going to try and take that off so you guys can see. But essentially you see long back legs that they use to spring around, hence the name. Slender mongoose tail with a black tip, and then squirrel-like face. So it is a mishmash of 3 different animals. So we have a slender mongoose on a tail, like I say, kangaroo legs, squirrel head, and this guy bounces around all over the place. And like I say, you do see them in the Kruger area, very, very seldom here. If you go north towards the Olifants River, they're everywhere. You go out at night and you see them all over the place. Mara, you do see them as well. So maybe Brent will be able to find one this evening. Right, I feel like we've blinded this poor scrubber here enough, so we're going to just turn off our lights as we try and go forward. Conrad in Final Control is not a fan of a spring hare. Why, Conrad? Why are you not a fan of a spring hare? Tell me about this. Their claws are vicious. Is that what you just said, Emma? I feel like there's a story here. Whoa, we're not going anywhere until such time as I want to know what happened to Conrad that he is scared of scrub hares, or does not, maybe not scared is the wrong word, but has a problem with a scrub hare. Conrad, what's happened? Tell us your story via Emma through my earpiece so I can relate it to everybody else. Conrad has got lots of stories, by the way. So apparently Conrad is very emotional as he retails this story, and I believe it's an emotional time for him as he talks about this incident that took place. Well, Conrad, I can tell you the first thing is that you probably got yourself into trouble by trying to catch a scrub hare, but knowing South African kids and the way they go about things, this is not uncommon. South African kids, and when they grow up, go and try and catch all kinds of things. We think that we are the next great mammal species that will come out and be able to run down anything, and almost like a San in that regard. And so basically, you know, Conrad went and caught a spring hare apparently, and when he caught it, which somehow he managed to do, I'm not quite sure how he managed to do it because they are seriously fleet-footed little things, but he caught it, and he said that basically what happened is that he was absolutely destroyed by this scrub hare as it kicked him, scratched him, tried to bite him, and did everything it can to try and get him away from him, and taught Conrad a very valuable lesson that, well, even though things will come in small packages, it is not wise to try and go after things and catch things. And so Conrad got beaten up by a scrub hare. Poor Conrad. Conrad, did you get karate chopped? Just like Kirsty. Kirsty, did you also get beaten up by a scrub hare? I mean a spring hare. This sounds like a terrible... Yes, that is true. It's things that come in small packages and should be scared of. Kirsty is definitely high up on that list. What is also high up on that list and one should be scared of is this being that is coming across the dam wall. Its lights are shining in our eyes, trying to blind us, trying to approach a little bit closer. But there, sitting inside of that car, is the one and only, the apex male out here. There you see him, look at him going. James R.A. Henry, the apex individual. Senzo in the back, Rabin. Look at that. That is, yes, dangerous things that come in small packages. James, Emma just called you small. So you have now been called small. You have been called a worm. I feel like people are having a go at you in the last few days. I don't know what's wrong with people as to why they're calling you small and wormy. So now apparently Emma's saying that he won't know because he won't send it to him on the radio. Well, Emma, unfortunately for you, James is now driving straight towards me. Look at the heroes as they fly with neat capes for all 3 of them. Unfortunately, James, Emma just called you small. Emma called you small. Emma, and she didn't want to feed it through to you because she says that apparently James cannot repeat what he's going to do. James, are you incensed by this?
I'm absolutely incensed. When did 5'8" become small?
Apparently Emma thinks that you're small.
Well.
But that you dynamite, apparently.
Oh, it's too late.
Too late,
Too
she
late.
cried. There we
Yeah.
go. All right.
Emma, good luck. Good luck sleeping tonight.
Cool, James. We'll see you later.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go down Twin Dams a bit, and then I think Ingwe Alley and up.
Okay.
Where are you going to go?
Then I will go, I guess I'll do a turn around Calicut.
Okay. So James, we're going to trade places. James is going to go look for Osana at Gallagher Pan. I'm going to go towards Ingwe Alley for Tandi, Klolamba, or Tingana, whoever. And maybe between the two of us trading places, we'll find one of these leopards that we've failed so dismally at this afternoon. But Emma, good luck. James is coming for you. In fact, I see he's mobile towards final control with haste. There's fifth gear being burnt up that hill as he comes to scold and reprimand you. Yes, now good luck. Good luck, Emma. You are now going to be sent off to James, and so he can tell you what he thinks about being called small.
Senzo, you must tell me when we're live, because I can't hear anything in my ear anymore. I can't. Oh, we're live now. Okay, there's a Steenbok. It's not going to, yes, it's going to run away. I'm unable to hear anything from the final control anymore. Can't tell why exactly. There's a nice shot of a Steinbockie running away. Gone. As Tristan said, we are swapping places now. I was going to go down and check exactly where he was going to check, simply because, for the same reasons, hoping Tandi or Klolamba would pitch up. We'll now go and look around where he's been circling all afternoon. Maybe a little swapsy will do the trick. Are we all fair now? No, we're not. Are we live again? Okay, thank you, Senzo. Yeah, you just keep me posted. I can't hear anything from final control anymore. Maybe they better get someone else on the radio. I'm struggling to hear. Small. Small indeed. I can hear beeping now, but I don't know what it was. Kathy, all eyes glow for the same reason, and that reason, if we look towards those impala over there, that reason is that there is a membrane behind the eye known as the tapetum lucidum. I think that's what it's called. And it reflects light. Now, even in infrared, there is light on that animal. So the infrared is shining infrared light onto it. And just because we can't, or the animal can't see it, it doesn't mean that the eye is not going to reflect that light as it shines on it. So it's just reflecting back infrared light. Does that make sense? So just because it's not a frequency that we can see, or a wavelength that we can see with our naked eye, with the camera, it's obviously picked up the infrared, and the tapetum lucidum can, it doesn't travel through the tapetum lucidum, it reflects. X-rays, for example, which are on the same spectrum, would go straight through that animal. Go straight through the membrane and go through most of the animal except the bones. And it would reflect back off the bones. But the wavelength of infrared is right at the other end of the scale, and so it is reflected by the tapetum lucidum and, of course, the bodies even of those animals. Does that make sense? Hello, Linda. Yes, it is indeed true that tomorrow is the 13th, I think it is, episode of Safari Lives on a Sunday afternoon. So that will be from, I think it's from 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Safari Lives, for those of you who are new viewers, is basically a highlights package of the week's events here, focusing on our main characters. And there will be a few non-live clips that we put together to show you exactly what's been happening during the course of the week. So it's quite a lot of fun. And you are more than welcome to join us. In fact, you're encouraged to join us. And we'd like you to join us. In fact, we insist. Righty, let's move on from these impala and go and find something that might want to eat them. Purple, I don't think I'm ever going on leave again. I've lost track of time. I think it might be the year 1898. It could indeed be the year 2100. I'm not sure if I'm going on leave. I might be on leave now, in fact. It's very difficult to tell what's happening. All days, hours, months have melded into one. It could be Christmas tomorrow. It could be my birthday. I'm not sure what's happening. I basically just get up in the morning and then robotically go about my business. Yes, I will be going on leave again. It does still seem quite a long way off. Yeah, I think it's around about the 17th of September that I will be going on leave. But it's a lovely time of the year to be in the bush, everybody. And while this has been a slightly long work cycle, it's not really like working in the bank. And apparently now Tristan has forsaken me. I'm not sure why. I suspect there's more technical glitch on Rusty. And so I'm afraid you're stuck with me. Let's hope we can find an animal, because I've got to tell you, listening to me waffle for the next half an hour is going to be trying. Not only for you, but for me too. Oh, it's not half an hour, it's 15 minutes. I'm sure we'll manage. So keep the questions and comments flowing. Otherwise, I'll just start becoming more and more arbitrary in my speech. Guide Monkey, what I heard from Emma, who I'm not speaking to anymore, with that comment was, I would like a sausage dog of the gauntlet, please. I'm pretty sure that's not what your question or comment was, so let's have it again, if possible. A sock puppet reenactment of the gauntlet. Are you being serious? Well, I mean, wishes my command. You know, I'd hate to let you down. Let's see what we can do. There we have a scrub here who's looking at my shoes, thinking, gosh, what a fine shoe. What a very big shoe is what the scrub here was thinking. Ah, here's some impala. Right, a sock puppet reenactment of the Gauntlet series. Sorry, chaps. I'm just trying to do a sock puppet reenactment of the Gauntlet series. Alright, what do we do first? Obviously I only have 2 hands and 2 socks. So, here they are. Are you ready, Sensible? Rub, you were never to do this. I hope you understand.
I promise I will never repeat this.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, for one performance only, a sock puppet reenactment of The Gauntlet. What is a gauntlet? That doesn't explain it. I think that's because nobody knows what it means. That is correct. Nobody knows what a gauntlet is. Shall we explain it? No, this is not an English lesson. This is a sock puppet reenactment of the gauntlet. Yes, correct. I shall play the Sausage Tree Pride. Okay, I wanted to be the Sausage Tree Pride. Well, you can't be. All right, I'll be a zebra then. Yes, I'll eat you. Well, all right. Well, here we are then. I'll be a zebra grazing. Oh, I'm eating my zebra. Oh, this is the gauntlet of the African wild. Lions eating zebra. Oh, I don't like the gauntlet of the African. Well done, I think you did well. I feel rather emasculated by that. Can I be the predator next time? You may never be the predator. I am the predator. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That was the sock puppet reenactment of the gauntlet. Thank you very much. I cannot believe that just happened. I do hope my boss isn't watching. Thank you. A pen and paper to write my resignation letter, you mean? Yes. Thank you, Guide Monkey. You say the Oscar goes to the left sock on the right hand. That's very kind. I thought the one on the left was rather nasty. Ah, good. Tristan is now going to also do a sock puppet reenactment of the gauntlet.
No, James, no. My socks are firmly on my feet at the moment, and I'm not going to be taking off my socks because that is going to be a mission of note, and to then put them back on. There's only one person that is theatrical enough in this whole group of presenters to pull off a sock puppet show, and that is James R.A. Henry. He is the only one, and David and I have been giggling at the fact that he has taken off his shoes and socks in order to do a sock puppet show about the gauntlet. I wish I had seen it. Hopefully there will be some of you that will post highlights of James's sock puppet reenactment so that I can watch it, because all I got on the radio when it was coming to updates was just garbled giggling, really, from Kirsty and Emma in the final control as they tried. We will be making a highlight. Excellent. I look forward to this because I'm thoroughly enthused. Unfortunately, the dramatic side of life never really struck me. I remember, and this is actually quite funny to be honest, I remember when I was a kid at primary school. David, do you remember this? Because David and I went to the same primary school, and Jerry, if you can all believe it. The three of us were all in the same primary school, different years, but same primary school. It's a small world. But anyway, we were at school, and the school that we went to used to do a school play every year for each year. And I used to do my absolute best. And I say my absolute best. I would come up with any rhyme, reason, anything. I used to tell my parents there is no ways that I am going to be doing drama. There was just something about it that I just could not deal with. I don't know what it was, but a stage and drama, and I was not interested at all. I was too busy to be out on the sport field. You told me to go and run 45 kilometers around a sport field every single day. I would have happily done it, but tell me to go on a stage and there was just no ways, and it was just not happening. And so anyway, I get through 5 years of my primary school career. It's 7 years here in South Africa. Get through 5 years absolutely avoiding every play and really not being a part of many of them, and somehow managing to be sick, injured, just generally somehow getting out of it. I don't know how I did it, but anyway, I managed to get out of these things, and then in the 6th year it struck. One of those unfortunate life incidents where, well, I thought I would, on the day of audition, because you had to go to an audition, which was part of the school day, and it was compulsory. So on the day of audition, I remember, and this actually, to be honest, I was not playing, but I was actually sick. So I somehow managed to be sick on the audition. I thought, this is the best thing that could have happened. This is finally, karma is getting to me, and not karma, but there is somebody that is looking after me, and that I will not have to do the school play because I'm sick over the auditions, and therefore they won't put me in anywhere. And anyway, long story short, I arrived back at school feeling very chuffed because now I've missed
the auditions and I don't have to be in the school play, and I can just watch from the sidelines and be quite happy about life and not have to worry. Little did I know, though, that the teachers had cottoned on to the fact that I was not in any way wanting to be involved in drama, and they had assigned me a role anyway. And the first role that I was assigned was I can't even remember exactly what it was, but it was to be we were doing an 80s themed music play, and it was a Boy George song called Come a Come a Chameleon, and I had to be some kind of crazy thing for that, which I refused. Exactly, Emma. Wow. So I refused. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not dressing up in colorful clothing. It's not happening. There was a big hoo-ha about it. My parents even got phoned, and they just rolled their eyes and said, you're not going to make him do it because he just won't do it. And so then I got told, no, I need to now be a tree. And so I had to be a tree in the background of a music video in my grade 6 play. That is my claim to fame. That is the sum total of my drama career. The next year they realized it was a futile exercise, and I got out of it completely and never managed to do another drama thing in my life again, somehow, thankfully, and I shall continue to be that way because, honestly, I just can't. It's really not me at all. It was quite funny, actually, when I just told my parents that I would be joining SafariLive. They watched SafariLive and then proceeded to phone me 1 hour after watching it and saying, what are you thinking? Are you crazy? You are in no way capable of doing this job because you do not speak enough. And quite, yes, I know this is going to sound like a shock to all of you because I speak a lot on Drive, but at home my nickname within my family is Mute. Yes, my nickname in my family is Mute because I apparently do not speak. I am very quiet at home. I don't say much at all. My brother talks the hind leg off a donkey, and so I just let him run with it, and I just sit in the background and do my thing. And so my parents were utterly convinced that I would never be able to be a guide on SafariLive because I would just not be able to entertain or speak for long enough. I'm not sure about entertain because I don't think I really get that right too often, but at least I can speak. I've managed to unlock my speaking prowess and can just carry on with talking, and they still tell me to this day that they are surprised that I talk as much as I do, and why do I not talk this much at home? For real, people. This is the trials and tribulations of my... Oh, a picture of the Trinity. I don't even know where that is. I'll try and find one. I do know what I have pictures of. I've got pictures of when I was one of the 3 kings in a nursery school play, and when I was a frog. I have a picture of that. So I'll try and find those. I'm actually going to see my parents for the first time this year on this leave after the Congo, and so I'll ask them where those pictures are, and I'll try and get some photos of it, and then I can show all of you. And there is some... I know, it is a great show reel. I mean, a tree, a frog, and one of the 3 kings. I feel like I've done well. Emma, what were you? David, what were you in the school plays, actually, considering we were in the same school? David also apparently was a dodger. He was like me. He tried to dodge them as much as possible. David, you know that school got us there. We inevitably got roped in. It was very difficult to get out. I'm sure Jerry loved it, though. She would have been involved in it. And James certainly must have been many characters in his drama-filled school days. I would like to know actually what James was. And whether or not James did drama in high school. I'm pretty sure he did. He must have. And he's very good at it, I must be honest. James thoroughly entertains the entire crew every night and day with all kinds of antics. He is a very funny guy. And so it's quite fun to live around James Henry. In fact, actually, I want to, now that I'm going to send you across to James, I wonder if he can maybe describe to you a certain outfit that he wore. It was about maybe a year and a half ago. James Henry, on a hot afternoon, had found his gaiters and was going to go on a bushwalk, and I think it was Megan was going on her first leave cycle when she joined us, and she came to hug James to say goodbye as the general staff goodbyes go, and James emerged from his room in, well, what can only be described as a wardrobe that many people would not be able to wear. And so I will give you across to James so he can describe exactly what it was. But James, I'll give you a hint that you were wearing a red set of undies and a pair of gaiters around your knees, and go.
I actually don't know what I was wearing. I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't do drama at school. We didn't have drama at this place I went to school, which was a pity because I probably would have quite enjoyed it. I think we should end the drive today with the sock puppets. So let's do the credits of the sock puppets, shall we? Very nice. There we are. Thank you very much for joining me, Michael Carmichael, and me, Richard Hemingway, for a wonderful episode of Safari Live. We'll see you tomorrow, of course, in the Sunrise Safari at 6:30 in the morning. No! At 5:30 in the morning. Until then, we hope you stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be in the world. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.